ready for another lesson?
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I am one of your hosts, Adam Schwartz, and on today's episode in the news, we have a bunch of movie release dates changing it up. Then in trailer talk, we have the new Mario trailer for the Super Mario Bros. Animated film, and new streaming list. There's some pod movies coming to streaming services, some ones we've seen on pod in theaters, and then now they're on streaming services. So if you maybe missed them in theaters, it's your chance to watch them again. We'll get to what we're watching, of course, and then our main review for the episode is Alien. But before we get to any of that, I am joined today, of course, by Nostromo Nathaniel Gingrich.
What up, folks? I'm Nostromo Nathaniel. Great name for a ship.
I was about to say, what a cool ass name for a space shuttle.
I feel like
shuttle.
They're always named after like literary or like historical figures or something like that, right? Like, or like biblical figures, like Matrix. It's like Nebuchadnezzar and stuff, or like, you know, they're always called like Artemis or something, some Greek figure. But yeah, I'm sure Nostromo's out there too.
I don't know. Is there some kind of connection to Nostromo? Like, what is?
Google it. I'll bet he's a philosopher or something.
Nostromo meaning. Here we go.
This is the good stuff.
Apparently wait, what? I'm confused.
It is philosophy.
Translation of Nostromo from the Password Italian English Dictionary. It is an officer who looks after a ship's boats, ropes, sails, etc.
Oh, okay.
So it's Italian for like a dude who watches over the boats and takes care of boats, apparently.
Like Italian for like a quartermaster or something like that.
Yeah, like Italian for the person who like takes care of the ship.
Huh.
That's what I gather.
That's me, folks.
That's cool. Yeah, very Italian.
It's Nostromo.
Also joining us today, I don't know how Italian he is, but it's Xenomorph Tyler Verdalis.
Sweet.
Are you Italian? How Italian are you?
No, I'm not, but I get Italian a lot.
You think? Yeah.
You could pass. Yeah, I get it quite a bit.
Yeah, you probably could. Yeah, I see that. Have you ever? Have any of you guys done the 23andMe thing, a DNA test like that?
I have.
You have?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Any surprising findings? Was your dad actually like one of those? What are they called? The sperm doctors?
Oh no, God no. At least I don't think so. At least. But the big thing was we were 13.5% Native American. At least I was, which was like it was always like a family story, but like I was like, nah, like no way is that actually a thing. But yeah, so it was, I guess, surprised it was more closer in generations than I thought it would be or anything like that. But then the rest of it was more or less what I thought, which is just we're mutts from all over the place, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I kind of want to do those, but also like then your DNA gets entered into the police database, you know. gonna get convicted of a crime that I didn't commit or something, you know. My DNA was somehow somewhere, and next thing you know, you're in prison.
You do have the waivers that you can like refuse for your DNA to be kept on file.
Yeah, but do they really follow those? You know, it's kind of like Apple when they say like no one's really checking your location. You're like, cool, but we all kind of know they're still checking your location.
I think in today's world, like them having my DNA is probably less of a like risk to me than like Apple already having my identity and shit. You know?
Yeah, honestly, giving them my DNA is probably less of a risk than
like TikTok
ID,
or something.
Yeah. And then downloading TikTok. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I should just pull the trigger. And rounding out the squadron today, as usual, it's big bonus BlakeHolder.
Hey, what up?
Just looking for that bonus.
Oh yeah, man. I was curious what was the name I was gonna get today, but you know what? I'm good with that.
You're always looking for the alliteration where I can find it. If it's not there, I don't force it, you know. But I'm looking for it.
No.
Yeah, I played Rainbow Six Siege for the first time the other day in a long time.
I haven't played that in probably 2.5 months, 3 months or so. What's it looking like? Is it a new? It's got to be a fucking new season, right?
I don't know. I haven't played that game in like 2 years, so I don't know what a new season is to you. Because I thought you said like 2.5. I thought you were going to say years, months. Like no, it's been like 2 years for me.
I think I played the beginning of last season, and I don't even think I could tell you who the operator was.
Yeah, there's so many new ones, but like honestly, like do any of them matter? People like the best ones are still the ones the game launched with.
So just
from what I gathered playing, like in the first few DLCs, like Jackal's still good and Mira's still good
for sure.
And those are like the second or third DLC characters. I remember it's just like the new ones. They're just kind of like making shit up, and their abilities are like so niche and useless that it's like, I could envision the scenario where I use this, but also like, do I really want to use it?
Yeah. So, what map they put you on? Did you first?
I played a bunch of new ones. No, I was playing on PC, which I think I can play ranked, but you have to have a certain level, and my friends weren't that level. What sucks is that like, yes, we're just playing like quick play casual matches, which was fine because like I was playing mouse and keyboard on PC, not Xbox. And I am not good at games on PC with mouse and keyboard just because I've played for so long on a controller. I like born and raised on controller. Only got my PC in 2020, and then since then I've just been playing Halo for the past year almost on a controller. So it's like my PC, my mouse and keyboard skills haven't developed very much since I got my PC. So like I needed the quick play because even in quick play where there's people that I was like, okay, I'm just not going to be able to compete with someone snapping directly to my head and getting a headshot.
That's why I play strictly joystick.
Yeah. Maybe I should just. I don't think in Rainbow Six the controller would really be even close to the mouse and keyboard just because people are so much faster. That game plays so much differently on mouse and keyboard than it does in console. It's like a different game. It's so much slower on console.
Yeah, and there's no advantage to controller either because that game is so focused on one-shot headshot mechanic.
Yep.
So the quicker you can snap onto somebody's head, like you're gonna win a gunfight every time.
Exactly.
What about
so it's just like
Dance Dance Revolution control pad?
The Dance Dance pad?
Yeah, have you thought about that?
I have not, but I could try it. I could. The other thing I could try is if you guys seen the clips of the guy using the recorder to play Call of Duty.
Was in like
no, I have not.
The recorder you blow into?
Yeah, the recorder you blow into. He's got it programmed so like certain notes will do certain inputs on the game. So he he has to like move. He like moves like he's playing like a top down. Like he's moving in 2 dimensions basically, left to right, forward, backwards. And he's aiming the same way, but like he basically will just hold his reticle at one spot with the sniper, and then he just has to shoot whenever someone lines up with it. But he gets kills. It's funny.
Yeah, that's goofy.
Yeah, but Rainbow Six still a fun game.
Yeah, I'm sure I could imagine frustrating as ever.
Yeah.
That you bringing that up may be enough for me to turn that shit on this week. Maybe I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, it's so fun
for like an hour maybe.
Yeah. And then get incredibly frustrated.
Overwatch 2 also came out, which is Overwatch 1.2. I can't even call it Overwatch 2. It's the same maps, same characters. It's basically the same game.
Yeah, I didn't understand why they called it 2 because like I loaded it up and I was like, isn't this like the same game?
It's the same game. It is the same abilities, same character. Like they added like 3 or 4 new characters and they made it 5v5 versus 6v6, which I will say I like a lot more, a lot more than 6v6. So I do, that's like the biggest change. But like even then, I'm just like I haven't played this game in 5 years, but it feels like I know everything I need to know. But they're calling it a new game. It makes no sense. They're just trying to relaunch Overwatch, and I think that's annoying and stupid. Shouldn't be allowed.
Facts.
To the news.
To the news. That was a very harsh transition, but we needed to do it anyway because that was a long intro. Anyway, not a ton in the news, but this week we did have quite a few movies change up their release dates. So starting on the Marvel side of things, of course, Marvel's in this news. Let's see, what is the list of movies here? Avengers: Secret Wars, Deadpool 3, Fantastic Four, and unfortunately, Blade have all been delayed by a little bit, not a ton. Blade is probably the biggest one. It was November 3rd, 2023. It's all the way to September 6th, 2024. So about a 9-month delay, 9-month delay. They're still looking for their new director because they're the one they had on left the project. So they're now looking for a new director.
I'll do it.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
I want to say I'm upset about that, but to be honest with you guys, I don't think I have any emotion toward that stuff being delayed.
For Blade?
Yeah, I mean,
I thought Blade you'd at least want to see.
I'm sure I will go see it, right? But as far as me being like ramped up to catch it, I mean,
sure, I see.
I don't know, man. I think, fellas, I'm just all the way crapped out of Marvel, and I feel like I say that every week, but I think I have like ultimately hit that stage.
I don't blame you. Definitely don't blame you. Well, the other thing we got here, Deadpool 3 moving from September 6th, 2024 to November 8th, 2024. So about a 2-3 month delay. Fantastic Four is moving from November 8th, so where Deadpool 3 has been moved to, from that release date in November to February 14th, 2025.
Jesus.
So about a 4-month release date, that feels so far away, 2025.
I will be 1,000.
Avengers. What would you say?
In 2025, I'll be 1,000 years old.
Wow. Yeah, that is a long time. Avengers Secret Wars is getting moved from November 7th, 2025 to May 1st, 2026. And if you remember, that is supposed to be the
Avengers movie?
Yeah, it's the Avengers movie, but I thought it was supposed to be the end of the whole saga, but then I think the Kang Dynasty is... Oh, that is, yeah. So Kang Dynasty is the first one, I believe, that's coming out, because there's going to be a 2-parter again. So it's Avengers Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty. I think Kang Dynasty is still set for May 2nd, 2025 is what this is saying. And I think they were that's right. They're supposed to come out about 6 months apart in the same year, but they are now just moving it to about a year apart, like they did Endgame and Infinity War.
All right, so I'm not where Blake is, but at this point, just wake me up the week before they're supposed to come out.
Fair enough.
You know, that's I don't need. They're entrenched in my life enough at this point that I don't need to even care about release dates and anticipation
they'll
anymore.
Come when they come.
Yeah, just don't even bother putting them on my feed until the week before, and then just go ahead and pre-book my ticket, and I'll just show up.
That's valid. I debated even putting these on the news or in the news this week, but I was like, there's nothing else.
No, it's good news. It's good news. It's just, that's where I'm at personally.
No, I agree. I was like, do I care? No. Like, these movies are going to come when they come out, and I may or may not see them. It doesn't affect me very much. So here's better news, though. Better news. I know we're burnt out on Marvel, but the best news to come out of all of these Marvel delays is Dune has changed its release date 2 weeks sooner, from November 17th, 2023 to November 3rd, 2023, which, if you remember from just a minute ago, Blade was supposed to release on November 3rd. They took Blade's release date. This was like announced hours after all of the Marvel moves. They were like, okay, we'll just take that spot.
You can imagine the boardroom discussions, and the frantically erasing the whiteboard of release dates, and then someone else says, "Yes, we can move it," and then someone else throws a magnet across the room that has Dune Part 2 written on it in Sharpie, and you just slap it on the board.
Yeah,
slap it a bass.
Slap it a bit. Yeah, then that's what plays afterwards. Just that clip on rotate.
So maybe burnt out of Marvel, but we're certainly not burnt out of any Disney.
Certainly not.
Movies
Certainly not.
Matter of fact, there may be a shortcoming of those. He needs to have his own cinematic universe and get 45 movies, and I'll watch all 45 of them.
Just keep him in a box making movies every day, 9 hours a day.
45 movies. You'd have to turn 1,000. You'd have to be Nathaniel's age to see all of those.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. So that's the best news to come out of all that Marvel delays. We're getting Dune 2 weeks earlier. And as far away as November 3rd, 2023 feels, I know it's going to be there like that. So get ready.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. That's a year.
It's really realistically almost a year from now. So
2 weeks closer to more Florence Pugh.
Oh, baby,
Yeah, I would
I
say
can't
also
wait.
starring Florence Pugh.
I might just go watch her entire catalog.
All right, I
Yeah.
think that's dipped into the creepy factor. We've gone
What?
there, folks.
Yeah.
Watching all of her movies, that's creepy.
No, there's a response to her movie moving up 2 weeks early. I think that's the borderline. If you're just
I guess I can see how that connects weirdly.
Yeah. What's more crazy is that
I meant
he's
them
willing
separate in
to.
their head.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say what's more crazy is that he's willing to watch "Don't Worry, Darling" again within fucking 3 weeks of watching it.
I can skip that one.
Yeah.
I meant more. I just want to go rewatch Midsommar and like maybe Black Widow, but like maybe skip around to the parts that she's in.
Yeah. You can have Midsommar on loop for eternity.
I don't know about on loop. It's a very heavy movie. It's a lot to deal with.
And there's
you're not too far off. You're not too far
There's
off.
an open look into Blake's psyche, listeners.
Yeah. You thought what I said was creepy. Jesus Christ. Well, moving on from the news.
Never mind. Go ahead.
Do you want to say it? Yeah,
sure.
Pause.
No, it doesn't matter. We can. I was like, if you want to hear a funny Midsummer, I watched Midsummer. So this is maybe 2 years ago. With the first movie I watched with kind of this woman I was dating at the time. The first movie we watched together was Midsummer. And I'm almost positive we watched that, and she was like, "This guy's a fucking psycho."
Yeah, that's a tough first choice.
Got a funny story from that. Yeah, ultimately went nowhere. I think. Well,
that's probably why. Yeah,
for sure.
Not a good first date.
You
for sure.
Yeah, you dug yourself a hole a little bit there.
Yeah, you did.
You did. Great film though.
It is. It really is. Moving on from the news. We do have a trailer select this week. The Super Mario Bros. Trailer is here.
Mario has no ass.
Yeah, Mario's flat as fuck. Flat as a board. He really needs to hit the gym. But does it matter? Absolutely not. Why does anyone talk about that stuff? Who cares? It's an animated kids film that adults are gonna, rag on for no reason. Anyway, I like this trailer. I think the animation looks great. Looks really, really good. I think it's a good style, and also like just visually, like it's rather impressive as far as like colors and whatnot go. So I'm on board that side of things. I think this looks good as far as like the translation of Mario to an animated style like this. They could have gone a little bit more cartoony, but I think this is kind of a good mix. Voice acting seems good on the end of like Bowser and stuff. How do you guys feel about Chris Pratt as Mario?
Cool with all this.
Yeah.
I think the trailer and everything looked really good. I was very very pleased.
Yeah. Have we seen these penguin guys before? Or are they in Mario? Because I've never I don't feel like I've seen them.
Yeah, they're little penguin dudes.
I'm pretty sure these are in some of the
They're
the newer games.
Aren't they in
I haven't played a lot of the newer ones.
in the N64 one where you go and then you jump into the painting and you go to the penguin land and you race the penguin
You're right.
down a hill.
Okay, so we have seen them before.
I think the animation looks beautiful. They're teamed up with Illumination, which is the guys that did the Minions and all the Despicable Me stuff, which I think makes them an arm of Universal technically. Now, maybe? I don't know.
Might be, yeah.
But it is with Nintendo, and they are teaming up, so it does look really, really good. The Chris Pratt thing, he's got voice acting chops. It's just not my first choice when I think Mario in my head, which, fair enough.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the podcast, would I see this? Probably not. Will I see it for the podcast? Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But I guess that's as much as I could hope for, really, at this point. With this, because it's a kids movie. I'm hoping for like Lego Movie. That would be like that's like your like
Lego Movie.
You're like my benchmark of being like pleasantly surprised by something.
Sure. What are the odds? It's the Emoji Movie.
Not as great, I would say. I think it's got to be better than that, right? Otherwise, I think Nintendo would scrap the project.
Just the voice acting cast itself, I
think they're all really good besides Chris Pratt.
Yeah, I agree. We have Anya Taylor-Joy, friend of the pod, as Princess Peach. Charlie Day from Always Sunny as Luigi,
That's
which
great.
will be interesting. Jack Black as Bowser, which we heard in the trailer.
Great.
Seems really good so far. Keegan-Michael Key as Toad.
Great.
Fantastic. Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. That's great. Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong. That could be even better. Kevin Michael Richardson as Kamek. I don't recognize. I heard the name, but can't put a face to it.
Kevin Michael
But
Richardson.
I recognize him. Yeah,
he's a fairly famous voice actor. Has a very, very deep voice.
Michael Richards. Okay, let me see his IMDb really quick. Interesting. Is he Megatron?
Could be.
Or not Megatron. Is he? He's got He's got so many freaking voice acting credits. Holy shit. He's got 581 voice acting credits, and that's insane. Okay, well, he's got a lot on here, so I can't.
You've definitely heard. You've heard Kevin Michael Richardson before.
I'm sure I have. Okay, but then what was the last name on this list? Sebastian Maniscalco as Spike.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that'll be fun. I have no idea what the story is going to be, but sure.
It's Mario rescuing Princess Peach, as it always is.
Odds on it being a twist and Peach rescues herself.
Very high. Very, very high. Yeah. The odds that Mario is captured and Princess Peach rescues him, that could happen too. Or maybe in a sequel. That seems like sequel level material. But you never know. All right. Well, I don't know if there's much more to say on that trailer. We'll probably see this when it comes out. I think it looks decent. At least on this trailer. And it looks visually, like I said.
Best really good. Video game adaptation potential?
If we're counting the Last of Us show, then there's no shot. But like, if we're just counting movies, then maybe.
You are riding high on this Last of Us show, friend, and I hope it does not.
I'm gonna ride that till I die. Can't wait for that. Still no release date. 2023. Still no release date, but we'll wait patiently. All right, well, we can get on into the completely subjective new to streaming list for the week of October 9th through the 15th. If you don't know what this list is, there's a lot of things coming to streaming services, and these are the things I've hand selected that might be worth checking out. Netflix isn't getting anything. Amazon Prime is getting The Northman, which we have reviewed on pod. We were just talking about pre-pod a little bit. Solid film. That's coming to Amazon Prime. Hulu's getting Antlers, also reviewed on pod. Not as liked as The Northman, but is available now on Hulu. Hulu's also getting My Friend Dahmer, which was like a 2017 biopic of Jeffrey Dahmer, which seems timely because everyone's still talking about that Netflix show. And then Chainsaw Man, season 1, episode 1. Have you guys seen anything of Chainsaw Man?
I have not.
This is an anime.
Mm-hmm.
A
lot of people cosplay.
I read the first couple issues of Chainsaw Man, and I will probably go back to them. It seems really good, so he ends up with a little chainsaw dog.
Noah too has put me on a Chainsaw Man.
Okay.
I don't think he read the manga. He basically watched like 9 hours of the story summarized with like frames from the manga, like each individual frame. It was like a video version that was like narrated, explaining the story with like the pictures from the manga. I don't know. He sent me some of it, and I watched some of it. But basically, it seems like a really dope show and story. From what he tells me, he says like the story arc just gets really good. And it's a cool concept if you kind of like look into the summary of it. But and if you like anime, because if you don't like anime, you're gonna be like, what the hell? But you know, if you like it, you know, and you'll probably like this. This is the first season, the first episode's out. They come out every Tuesday to Crunchyroll and Hulu. So I did watch the first episode today. Pretty good, especially for an opening. Looks great. It's the same studio that does Attack on Titan. So visually it looks really good. And voice acting's been good, so we'll see where it goes from here. HBO Max is not getting anything. Disney Plus is getting Andor episode 6 and She-Hulk Attorney at Law episode 9, the finale. And they're also getting The New Mutants.
Ooh.
Ooh, yikes. So we might not be checking that out. Anyway.
What are you talking about? First thing on the list next week. Throw everything else out we were going to do. It's time for New Mutants.
Oh, jeez. What we're watching. Nathaniel, kick us off here.
Okily dokily. So, what have I been watching?
Actually, pause for a sec.
Okay.
Who here is caught up on House of the Dragon?
Yep.
There's three of us. Do we want to do now a spoiler talk since we haven't really done a spoiler talk all season?
Yeah, I can
Sure.
do that.
All right, cool. We'll do spoiler talk for House of the Dragon. If you've not seen House of the Dragon, do not want to spoil it for you. Check the episode description. There's a timestamp. You know the drill. All right, House of the Dragon spoilers. Do you want to play a spoiler song, Nathaniel? Does that help people?
Already did.
Oh, you did already?
Just now.
I bet it doesn't. Okay, just now. It doesn't come through all the time.
Does that help?
How we feeling here, guys? We're back in Westeros. Back with the Targaryens. I don't even know what other. There's some new houses. The Valerians. They rule the seas. It's not the Iron Islands right now.
They certainly
it's
do.
all about those Valerians. Yeah, how you guys liking it so far? Everyone's seen episode 8?
Yeah.
Yes.
King Viserys has died, and
yes.
Yeah. Look, I love Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows this. It's known. It's known.
It is known.
It is known. I do like the show a lot, so I'm on board. I don't want to act like I don't, but like there are like small things here and there where I'm like, this is just, I don't know. I can't get all in like I was on Game of Thrones. I'm gonna continue to watch. Obviously, I'll watch a second season depending on how this one ends. It's like me saying that isn't really changing much. But these time jumps have kind of frustrated me a little bit, where they clearly don't want to do the whole Game of Thrones thing that they did for basically the first 6 seasons until 7 and 8 were really rushed, where it was very drawn out. Things take a while to develop. You had characters basically moving down a road for almost an entire season, like 5 or 6 episodes is them traveling and then their travels together. It's just like they clearly don't want to do that. They want this show to move faster. They're trying to give you the good bits of Game of Thrones in more high concentrated doses, where like each episode has something shocking or exciting or a big development. Whereas like Game of Thrones, that was a lot of its charm, was like you had these long ass seasons, but you knew the payoff on it when episode 9 of each season came. You knew the payoff was going to be insane. Every single season, episode 9 before the season 10 finale, episode 9 always paid it off. Or sometimes it was like episode 4 or 5 had a really good bit, and then episode 9 paid off. Like you knew these things were coming, and like they were so good and fulfilling because you had to wait for them, and you had to like sit through this. Not filler use that term loosely because it's like it's filler, yes, in the terms that it's slowing things down.
It's character
but also
exploration.
Like what did you say?
Character exploration, I think, is the term you're looking for.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to kind of go into, is like you got to slow down and spend more times with these characters and develop them a lot more, and that's why you cared about them so much, and that's why they had so many characters that you could hardly remember everybody's names, but when you saw them on screen, you knew them, and you knew all this stuff about them. You knew their story, their arc, whatever it is, and you could do that with almost each character. Like you had some kind of connection, or you knew a lot about them, and there was a lot of characters that happened with in this show. And sorry, that's what made Game of Thrones so good, is like they were able to build up those characters so much, so all of those big moments mattered that much more. This show, they're kind of cheating you out of all of that drawn out character development and like moving super fast with these time jumps. We're in episode 8. There have been 4 time jumps now from, I don't know, some of them bigger than others. There's one that was like a year or 2, another one that was like a year or 2, and then there's like a big 10-year jump, and it was just like a lot going on, and it makes me a little nervous because it's just like you're not getting the payoff that Game of Thrones worked so hard for. all these big things are happening, and it just feels like they're trying to do all these big shocking things, but I don't care as much when I haven't spent that much time with these characters. There's been 2 or 3 times this season where I'm like, oh, I should probably care a lot more than I do that this just happened, and I can tell the show wants me to, but I don't, because it's just, we started here, and in 8 episodes, we are 30 years down the line almost, or 20 years down the line.
Do you think that's because they're working off of a finished book and they have like a definite like point where they have to end things at this point, so they can kind of streamline that a little bit? I guess would
in
be
this new show?
Yeah, because they're working off the Fire and Blood prequel, right? Which was the kind of Targaryen rule up until the Game of Thrones kind of start. And you only have 172 years to work with in there. So I feel like if they have a 3-season arc already plotted, which it seems like they do, they can like, pick and choose the bits they kind of want to build with a little bit. Whereas like obviously with the original Game of Thrones series, they were working off of a certain set of books, and then they kind of rapidly caught up in some ways.
Yeah. I don't know. It just like, Is that what they're doing? Is that what that show is based off? Is the House of the Dragon book?
Well, yeah, the Fire and Blood book.
The Fire and Blood?
Yeah.
I knew I thought that was a different...
I should say I have not read, so I don't know how far it goes
Sure.
up into there. So I don't know if, like, in the context of the book we are, a few chapters in, or, like, a third of the way through or something like that as well, too.
Sure.
But I just know at the end of it, you do get that, based off the Fire and Blood book deal.
No, you could be right. As far as like they're just trying to pick the best parts of the book and then play those out. But it's just and again, like, I do like the show. I do care. It's just like it's not the same for me, and that's a little disappointing because like obviously you just want more Game of Thrones, but maybe you were just never gonna get that. To me it's like they're moving at say like 3 times the speed of Game of Thrones. And I think they should be moving closer to like 1.5, 2 times speed. Like I don't mind that they're speeding things up, because realistically, I don't know if I need another 8-season arc that is Game of Thrones in that sense. I don't mind that they're speeding things up, but to me, they're speeding things up a little too much, and I just wish they would slow things down a little bit. But again, that could be just me. Maybe they're just setting up for the final, the next 2 or 3 seasons, whatever it is, and those will be slower with like the story that they've set up in this season. So like, who knows where they go with it? And it could end up working out if they've planned it out well enough. But that was just kind of my little rant. Is these time jumps are getting a little much for me. I also, maybe most of it, or at least some of it, is I did really like the actress that played Rhaenyra in the beginning, and I was just really disappointed when I came back to whatever it was, episode 6, and I was like, oh, she's gone already. Like I was looking forward to watching her grow as a character and grow and whatnot, as we kind of did in Game of Thrones. Then 5 episodes in, see you later. Like, she's gone. And of course, we can get her in a flashback, but I don't know if we'll ever really have a long stretch where we're back in that time period. So that is a little disappointing. But how are you guys feeling?
I feel pretty good. Overall, I think it's pretty. I think it holds up to the Game of Thrones name. I will say I think my only pet peeve is the time jumps. I think it's just a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I overly care for it. But overall, storyline, character development, and everything like that, I think is really good. I like how just you get to kind of see the dynamic of everything between, because when you watch Game of Thrones for the first time, sometimes things get very muddled. It's really kind of hard to kind of figure out like who is where and what, and like they give you all these names and you're like, who slept with whose cousin, sister? And so it's just it's very, sometimes it gets a little mucky, but I think this definitely helps out, because when you start to hear these names that you heard from Game of Thrones, you're like, oh, that's who. Okay, sure. All right, cool. Now you kind of get like a little bit more of the storyline. So I like how it's kind of elaborating on some of that, and you can kind of recall a lot of things from Game of Thrones, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I think my only pet peeve is the overall pace of things. Like you said, I think it's moving pretty fast. I don't know how much of this they plan on doing. I don't know if that's already been released, and if it has, I haven't been paying attention to it. But I wouldn't mind, maybe another 1 or 2 seasons of this. It just kind of depends. But I will also agree that I liked I like both the actresses that played the girls in the beginning, and when you lose both of them, it's kind of like, well, yeah, I kind of wanted to see that. I kind of wanted to see where they would go, and you kind of lose that. So I feel like the actress that played Rhaenyra in the beginning was like very powerful. She had a lot of kind of gusto, and you can see that in like her facial expressions and the way she said things. And I think this one, whoever plays her now, I feel like she's very she's a little lackluster for me. I feel like definitely. she kind of puts a kind of like a rainy day on her, and it kind of feels like she's not as powerful as like she should be. So I'm hoping with her being with Damon kind of changes that, and you can kind of see how she already had her husband assassinated, and so you can kind of see that a little bit. So I'm hoping that her character or the actress that plays her kind of livens up a little bit, but I guess we won't really know until it happens.
Yeah, I just don't love this new actress as much. I think she'll be fine in the long run, but like you're right that I don't. Can you hear the dog in the background?
I can.
Yeah.
Apologies. It's my roommate's dog. He's a mini golden doodle and he's cute but annoying. Anyway. I just wish she had a little more gravitas to her on screen, and she kind of just feels really flat for that character, especially when you saw who that character they set her up as with that first actress who did a great job. And then now it just feels like, every time she's on screen, I just don't feel her presence, And I don't know how to like articulate that as like what she's doing, but that it could just be like in a casting thing. I don't know. Nathaniel?
I've enjoyed House of the Dragon overall. I've been pretty pleasantly surprised by it. I've liked the time jumps overall, I think. And I haven't really had too many of an issues with the pacing, but I was a Game of Thrones fan, but I wasn't ever a mega fan the way I think some other folks are. And but for a series that I wasn't even sure if I was going to watch it to begin with, the fact that it's kept me going every week, and I even missed a few weeks and was looking forward to catching up on them and all that good stuff. I'll keep watching, and I think Tyler's right. I think I've heard rumors, or I think it's at least mildly confirmed that it's going to be 3 seasons, or at least 3 seasons, and I think that's a pretty perfect run time for it, for the way they've kind of set themselves up now. So, and realistically, this is still episode 8, so there's still a lot of crazy shit could happen in episode 9 still, and still follow that Game of Thrones pattern. But yeah.
True.
And I like Emma Darcy as Rhaenyra. I don't know, just to complete my contrarian points.
You like the new Rhaenyra?
Yeah, I think she's good. I think she's got a better overall, like, what's the word I'm looking for? I think it's a more palatable chemistry with Matt Smith.
That's valid.
But I think she's got a clear enough thing. I think the last 2 episodes, which have really have featured her less, and have really kind of worked a lot more on Olivia Cook's character, who is the queen. But I'm sure Rhaenyra will get a pretty big moment here pretty soon.
Yeah, so. I think so too. But overall, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be back in the universe and stuff. Like, I'm watching this and I'm like, damn, this makes me want to go watch Game of Thrones again,
My stepdad made a bold claim. He claims that he actually likes this better than early Game of Thrones.
This first season is better than the first season of Game of Thrones, that's for sure. Like I remember watching the first season of Game of Thrones, like, fucking cut my eyes out, It wasn't until you get to episode 9 when they behead Eddard Stark that you're like, oh shit, they don't give a fuck in the show. And then you kind of just then you're kind of like on board from there on out. And season 2 is good, and then season 3 is when it starts to be Game of Thrones. So, yeah.
So back to
This
what I
is a
was
good-
watching. Sorry.
Back to what you were watching.
I didn't mean to.
Welcome back to listeners who skipped over Game of Thrones spoilers. What were you watching, Nathaniel? Besides House of the Dragon.
Yeah, so I actually caught up on House of the Dragon this week. We just went over that. Go back and listen to it if you really want to. My surprise of the week was She-Hulk. I caught up completely on She-Hulk, and what a fun, just kind of like comedy show. I thought it was. I've been having a really good time with it, and I'm glad it's around. And in like the way that I kind of approached it, kind of how I was talking about earlier, that it was just kind of like, oh, She-Hulk's out, cool. I'll throw that on, check it out, see what it's like. And I was very pleasantly surprised. In other things that were pleasantly surprised to me by Marvel, I watched Werewolf by Night, which is their Halloween special that they just came out with.
Yeah, I wanted to get around to this. How was it?
You know what? I commend Disney Plus for completing the fun Hispanic accent trifecta with Pedro Pascal in Mandalorian, and then obviously Diego Luna in Cassian Andor, and now we have Gael Garcia Bernal in Werewolf by Night, and it was really fun. It was a good time. I hope Marvel does more stuff like this, where it's just these kind of one-offs or specials. I don't necessarily need a whole show about it, and I like the spooky tone. I like the overall area they were going, and I like the kind of pivot into the supernatural side of things, where so far we've really only been cosmic and superhero based. So good on you, Marvel. Keep doing it. What else did I get on here? I got to Dread, the Carl Urban, I think it was 2011
Nice.
Okay, a remake.
movie. Yeah. Have you seen that, Blake?
I have.
Okay, yeah. That's a great movie. It's
I
so
fucking love
underrated.
it.
It's so underrated in my opinion. It's one of my favorite movie plot lines, which is you have to storm the building and you're going level by level up the tower.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love those
Feel
style
you
of
on that.
movies. I always think they're super fun. And just a great movie, great like mid-budget movie that I think was underseen in its time, and like if that came out today, people's minds would be on the floor, like
Sure.
leaking out their ears. And that's actually on Amazon Prime.
What is it again?
Dread.
Oh, Dread. Sorry.
And let's see. I got to the 2011 Fright Night remake, which I think was on Blake's list last week.
Yep, I caught that last week.
Yeah.
What did you watch that on?
Prime, Amazon Prime.
Ah, okay.
But it is so fun. It's
That
such
movie's
an
awesome.
underrated movie. Yeah. The cast in it, like you were saying last week, like it is just hit after hit, star after star, that nowadays you just be like, how did this movie come out? And like,
For sure.
no one saw it. And, and it's just such a fun Halloween time movie and a great vampire flick. And, reunites Imogen Poots and Anton Yelchin of Green Room fame. And obviously always good to see Toni Collette in there as well, too. Another
I love Toni Collette.
pod favorite. And then I guess the last thing I got to this week was the new Hellraiser, which is available on Hulu.
Ooh, okay.
I wanted to get around to that too at some point.
I gotta say, fellas, I was disappointed. I was
okay.
I was, I would say they put in about as much budget as like a Prey.
Sure.
And that's kind of, I think, where I was kind of setting my expectations overall. And I was a little bit let down overall. Now, I would say I'm a pretty big fan of the original. And I did just watch Ryan Hollinger's movie this week, or his little essay on it, which I think maybe even more of a fan of the original. However, I just like this this remake. It just wasn't. We've lost Blake. I have offended him too much. No, the remake. It was just. It shared a plot thread that was very, very similar to the remake of the 2013 Evil Dead. and then it was just kind of updated special effects for the demons, the Cenobites, and everything. So it was just a little bit more. I just wanted a little bit more bite to it, a little bit something extra, and I just was a little bit disappointed in that. But that's just my opinion. I would love to hear from like listeners that have seen it and check it out. I'm by no means is it don't check it out, but I was just a little bit disappointed by it overall. And then I rounded out the week with Alien, which is our movie for this week. So I'm gonna stop my list there, and I will kick it on over to Blake. Sorry, Blake is adjusting his microphone. So I will actually kick it on over to Adam.
Cool. Let's see. I, of course, as we talked about earlier, caught up on all of House of Dragons. So that was like the main thing this past week. That was mainly what I was watching. Had to, for my documentary class, go and see a movie called Welfare from the documentary filmmaker Frederick Wiseman. Are you familiar with Frederick Wiseman, Nathaniel? He's shaking his head no for the audio listeners. Frederick Wiseman is a very storied and well-regarded documentarian. He's kind of famous for, as I've been talking about this past couple weeks, our unit on direct cinema, which is kind of like the invention of documentary as we know it today, which is following people around or whatever with a camera and just recording the events that are in front of it. So he's kind of famous for developing that pretty well and his own style of that, and he does have, it's very unique in what he does. But I had to go see his movie Welfare, which is filmed in 1973, and it essentially, a lot of his films take place just he goes to some sort of institution and just records what goes on there. And so in this one, he has a movie called Titicut Follies, which is a film about like a mental institution / prison. He has one called High School, which is just him recording in a high school. And then this is his third or fourth, called Welfare. And so this is him going to a welfare office in New York in 1973 and kind of just recording the people there and their interviews and them working with these social workers trying to get their checks and trying to get money to live on, and it's them pleading their stories and their cases, and then also like the social workers either helping or not helping them and whatnot. And so
sounds harrowing.
It was, and a lot. His first movie, didn't see it, Titicut Follies, but I kind of had it summarized. That and we'll probably go.
That I have heard of. That's a film that I've heard in film circles before.
Have you heard of High School?
Vaguely, as well too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are both Frederick Wiseman.
Okay. So he's like a big hitter in the documentary world. Basically,
yeah, he's kind of like a Hitchcock almost. No, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but he's been doing this for a very long time and been doing it pretty differently than most people, even especially for back then, because you have Primary, you have Salesman, and then you had Titicut Follies. Those were like the three movies that were talked about from the kind of the three lead documentary makers back in the day, the first to do direct cinema. But with Welfare, yeah, you're right, it is pretty harrowing because you're kind of just watching these people beg for help, right, and these social workers like, go here, do this, bring me this, in like just kind of giving them a run around, and you're kind of just frustrated because you're watching these people like who clearly are down bad and like really do need this money, and the social workers just like don't care. And there are a few that do, but for the most part, you get to see the kind of the inhumanity that's there. But on top of that, like you're just watching it, and I like Frederick Wiseman's style a lot because he kind of just lets the camera roll. And I haven't seen any of his recent documentaries, but for the most part, that's what I can tell is like he's just kind of lets the camera go, and doesn't really worry about length, doesn't worry about cuts and whatnot. So this movie had just a lot of just like conversations that were uncut straight all the way through, and a lot of interesting ones. Some, like there was one between a really racist guy and a black cop that was like kind of just working at the office, and like so a lot of interesting interactions, some interesting characters, but it is good, but it's like 3 hours long. And his movies are very long, like 3.5 hours,
Yeah.
at least his like later ones. And like the cool thing about it is on Sunday, my professor was able to arrange a little like kind of not TED talk, but like interview with them over Zoom. So like my class, and like it was open to the public. It was at the Ragtag Cinema, which I've talked on pod before, but like the Indie Art House Cinema, that's in Columbia. So we all went there, and he had him up on the big screen, and like we were getting this interview with him, which was cool to see because he's 92 now. So he doesn't have a lot longer to make more films. So like hearing him talk about his career was pretty cool. Yeah, I would recommend Welfare, but it is kind of hard to get your hands on. You have to have you have to get it on Canopy, is where all his films are, which you basically have to have a library card for, and get it through your library. So I recently gotten a subscription to go watch his films. So if you are interested, it's not hard to get access to, but you do have to go. Like it's free. Most library cards are free, but at least you can find free ones, and then just have to sign in with your account. And I've started Succession after like Game of Thrones. Yeah. After I finished catching up on Game of Thrones, I'm like, I really want to fucking like watch another show like this, and I was like, fuck, I'll start Succession. So I'm like only 2 episodes in, but I like it so far. I liked the first episode a lot. I was like, oh, these characters are great. These are some great characters. I'm very excited to watch them interact more. Roman's great. He's a dude from Scott Pilgrim, right? I don't remember the actor's name.
Yeah, it's one of the Culkins. It's Kieran, I believe, which I believe is the one in Scott Pilgrim. I think there's 3 technically, but yes.
I didn't even know that.
The same one.
Yeah, he definitely looks like the one from Scott Pilgrim, at least.
Yeah, he's great. Roman's amazing. There's every character in that is insane. So good luck. Yeah. Enjoy yourself. It's a wild ride.
Yeah, I'm excited. So yeah, started that. We'll continue that probably. But as everyone on this, or every regular listener of this podcast knows, there's a lot of shows I want to get to and just don't. So I do want to stick this one through. There's only 3 seasons, so it's not like it's that much of an ask, you know?
Yeah, you'll blow through those once you get started. So.
But that's it. Blake?
Cool. Yeah, I'll pick it up and just kind of detail what I've been through. I guess first I do want to discuss on Hellraiser 2022. I didn't get to it. I ended up getting to the original. So one of my buddies says, "Tell you guys, one of my buddies moved in about 2 weeks ago. So me and him have been kind of going on a movie binge the past few weeks. So we ended up doing the original Hellraiser from Clive Barker. I believe that's the last name, right?
Yep.
Barker.
Yep. Clive Barker.
Okay. Yeah. And so yeah, really like that one. That was the first time I've seen that in its entirety. I've seen that movie throughout several clips and sequences and scenes as a child, right?
Sure.
As well as into like adulthood. Really good though. I liked it. I kind of knew already the gist of the story, right? In terms of kind of like the love interests, Cenobites, things of that nature. Which is another great name up there with xenomorphs.
Sure.
In terms of Cenobites, just in terms of an actual creature. But yeah, so nonetheless, planned on getting to 2022 or Hellraiser 2022 this week. But it sounds like you're not a fan of it, because obviously that's David Bruckner, who I think we've given a decent amount of kind of props to and tipped our hat to on a handful of stuff. He's did one of the better segments of VHS, the one with the succubus. He's done A Night House. He's done, I think, The Ritual is David Bruckner.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's why it's partially why I was really excited. I really want you to see it, because I do want to hear your opinion on it as well too. Because like I said, it felt like someone took the 2013 Evil Dead and like the original Clive Barker Hellraiser and just mushed them together, and they were like, good enough. Go put it out there.
Okay.
And
I got you. I think I know what you mean by that.
Yeah, it was just, man, I don't know if my hopes were too high or whatnot, but I just, I was a little bit disappointed. But I do want to hear other people's opinions, and generally from what I've been hearing, it's pretty positive. So maybe I'm just a party pooper on this, but I would love to find out.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I'll see if I can give that one a shot. If not tonight, probably sometime in the coming days. So nonetheless, like I said, got to Hellraiser. Great movie, classic. That's from like the '80s. A very prominent horror movie from that time. So funny enough, after I watched it, Ryan Hollinger did a video on it.
Yep.
I think that's obviously because Hellraiser 2022 is coming out, so I need to click that and kind of catch his thoughts on it. Outside of that, as we were talking about Micah Monroe, and I watched Watcher last week, I watched It Follows this week.
Great movie.
That movie's awesome, man.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
really
when I
good.
own Heaven Voodoo. My It Follows story is I saw that in theaters in 2014, just on the like, hey, I wonder what horror movies are showing, right? And this was maybe like a September 2014 or something like
Yep.
that. And I was like, the one thing on, me and my girlfriend at the time, we went to go watch it. And then I just remember walking away and I was like, this movie is awesome. Going to that movie as blind as possible, not knowing
Right.
anything. So yeah, Mike Monroe's awesome in that. The premise in that is awesome. The score is phenomenal in that.
I
It's got
love
like
the
an
score.
80s horror score.
I love the score.
Yeah, it's good. There's so many kind of small nuances in that film in terms of it's strange. You don't really know like what time period the movie takes place
Yep.
in. Like sometimes there's modern cars, sometimes there's like an old television.
Yep.
The girl's phone is like a shellfish phone. The refrigerator is like a 2014 refrigerator with a screen on it.
Yeah.
It's just really goofy. You don't really know.
But like people are like reading newspapers and shit, and yeah, it's very strange and very alienating. And it's in Detroit too, as like that city is like rotting from the inside out as well.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just it's a very strange movie, but yeah, I love it.
Yeah, definitely. So to your point, even kind of with that, as well as kind of the seasons, there's scenes where like one scene somebody has like a winter jacket on, and like the next scene somebody's in a pool outside.
Right.
It's just like it's all over the place. I kind of connected that with Barbarian because that's another film I went into pretty blind, as I was telling you guys about a month ago, and they both are horror movies, and they both take place in Detroit, which is just a terrible city. So I think I'm just kind of taken away if I have no need to ever go to Detroit. But yeah, that's kind of my talking point on that one. Another one I got to Terrifier 2, so I went to the theaters to catch that. And that's, as I kind of mentioned, that's off the original Terrifier that was maybe 2015 or so, which is based off a short called All Hallows Eve, which I caught last week for the first time. I saw the original Terrifier maybe 2 years ago or so. That movie's awesome. It's got another great score. It's got the very campy 80s horror score. That movie is oddly enough 2.5 hours long.
Holy
and
shit.
I get on here and complain about movies being long. And yeah, I
Right.
think this is one where the director was just kind of like, I have full control of this thing,
I
right?
have
And it's like,
everything. Yeah.
I'm giving you 2.5 hours
This
of
is-
Art the Clown, which
this
is
is-
really what people want to see. All Hallows Eve, he's in a short that's maybe like 17 minutes. The original Terrifier, I think, is an hour 15 or something. Like it's very,
Sure.
it's a slasher film.
Right.
So I think this probably goes on record. This has got to be the longest slasher film. It's got to be at 2.5 hours. So got a little more plot to it, as you can imagine, character development. But yeah, nonetheless, that's really cool. I think Nathaniel might get a kick out of it. I don't know if it's up Adam or Tyler's alley. But yeah, that's cool. I think that one's gonna have a cult following in probably like 10 years from now. There's the killer Art the Clown will definitely have a cult following on that. Two more I got to Creep and Creep 2.
Oh, I love those. Yeah.
So I actually watched those with my buddy Tay. It's the first time he's seen either of those, so we're kind of like just going through finding things.
Frosty
like
Plums?
Yeah, Frosty Plums. Yep. So you've
right.
played Siege with him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's in the room right here. So
Oh shit. He did move in with you.
Yeah.
I remember
So, yeah,
you
we're
saying
just
that
kinda-
was an option.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're just kind of doing that, finding some stuff. Then nonetheless, we popped up Creep, and like it was like an hour and 16 minutes or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
they're
I was
both
like, I'll
super
watch-
short. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll watch Creep again. That movie's awesome. I think he really liked it as well. I think he liked the first one more than the second one, which makes sense. The first one,
Right. You have no idea.
yeah, right. You don't know who he is, right? Where the second one, kind of the cat's out the bag, I guess. Still really good. He plays that role so good. What's his name?
Mark
I think his
Duplass.
name- Thank you. And he plays Joseph.
Yeah.
in both of the films. But yeah, he plays this maniac, deranged, just kind of mentally inept guy. He's so good. Sometimes you're talking to him, he's like, I don't know if this guy's like blatantly lying to my face or if he's just like
Right.
blatantly telling the truth, right? He like blurs that line really well. So yeah, got to both of those. I would probably argue, I think Creep might be one of my favorite found footage films because that is a found footage film. For those of you who don't know, and I'm not a huge found footage horror guy, but the premise of it is there's a guy who's really sick. He puts out kind of like a listing on the internet of like, hey, I want someone to film my last days, right? I'm a very lonely person. Somebody picks up the ad, goes out there, and here they are filming his remaining 24 hours or 48 hours, whatever it is. But yeah, found footage, really good. So yeah, kind of anticipating. I think they're making a third one as well with that. I think it's in the makings, and both of those are produced by Patrick Bryce. The third one's going to be, or directed by Patrick Bryce. Third one's going to be directed by Patrick Bryce as well. So I thought I would kind of start some rumblings of that releasing maybe 2024. Outside of that, got the Alien. I don't think that movie needs an introduction. Great movie.
Fair enough.
No, it does not, but our review section does. Welcome, listeners. to the
Tyler
main
hasn't
review
gone yet, I
segment.
don't think, has he?
Oh, god damn it. Oh, yeah, that's right. Tyler, go ahead. Oh, man, that transition was so good. Fuck.
So
Yeah, I fumbled that one, fellas. My bad.
That was funny
No,
as
no,
fuck.
no, that wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault. It was mine. I should have remembered that Tyler didn't go, but I saw the transition. I was like, no, you got to do it. You got to jump
guys
on.
got big,
You
yeah.
should have just gone with it.
Yeah, we should just skip to you. You're unimportant anyway.
I really didn't watch it. Anyway.
Oh, god
I've been
damn it.
I've been so busy at work. All I
What'd you
really
watch,
got
Tyler?
around to was She-Hulk, House of Dragons, which we already talked about. She-Hulk, it's still kind of just meh for me. I will say that this last week they had a little bit more comedy in there, and it was funny. I'm a big fan of fourth wall breaks. She's like one of the only other people, or she was one of the first other people to do it, except for Deadpool.
Deadpool.
And I like that. I think it's always a really fun way to play with the audience, regardless of whether it's in a book or comic book, or in this case, a movie and TV show. So, yeah, they're doing some good things, and Daredevil. That's all I'll say.
He was great. I love Tim Roth's having an absolute blast as well too.
Bro, he has been one of the saving graces for me for the Marvel universe.
He's just having an absolute ball.
Tim Roth, which one is that?
From Lie to Me. That's the first thing I thought of. He's a well-known British actor.
Okay, I know. I was just like, I've heard that name before, and I do recognize
Pulp
him.
Fiction.
He's
Sorry,
the one-
yeah.
He's Abomination, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so him and I forget the actor who plays Daredevil.
Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox.
Yeah, so yeah, they both have done a phenomenal job with this show, but as far as my saving grace, it's got to be Matt Murdock. He's done such a phenomenal job. I was so hyped when they brought him in Spider-Man, and I'm very glad that they're trying to retain him, because I think he is phenomenal.
He's great. He's got great chemistry with her. I'm having a great time with it.
So yeah, She-Hulk was dope for that last one, and then Rings of Power has just been holding me steady for since it started. It was funny because my future brother-in-law texted me at like 10 o'clock at night. He's like, "Hey, have you watched Lord of the Rings?" And I was like, "Is a pig's ass pork?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've watched Lord of the Rings. Are you an idiot?" So I talked to him a little bit about that, so that was funny. And then I watched a little bit of Andor, and I think I'm on the 3rd episode, and they're just kind of pumping those things out, and I've actually really liked it so far. So
yeah, I don't know if I said that in mine, but I'm caught up on that, and it is great.
yeah, big fan. Yeah, that's really all I got around to. A lot of YouTube kind of in between there, but Yeah, and then obviously, last but not least, Alien, and that movie needs no introduction.
Yeah, real quick. Sorry to cut that off again. I have been watching Atlanta, so this is the season finale
Oh, nice.
or the final season. They're on episode 5, I believe. So we got a few more to go. Those are dropping every Thursday, but that's still going very well. I think that's going to kind of shoot up my list to probably one of my favorite shows of all time. Granted, that's a small list. Don't watch a ton. It'd be up there for Wire. So I think that's going really well.
You know what else doesn't need an introduction? Our review segment. Welcome, listeners, to the main review segment of the podcast. If you are new or maybe you've just forgotten, Nathaniel, can you give them a rundown of how the review segment works?
What up, folks? I'm going to give you the rundown here. Main review segment. It is split into 2 sections. There's the non-spoiler section and the spoiler section. It's pretty self-explanatory. In the non-spoiler section, we'll go through the IMDb page, our initial thoughts, go around the squadron. We have to decide if we would recommend this movie, yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet. And then from then on, we'll be in the spoiler section. We'll go over any big spoilers, any plot twists, all that good stuff. Don't worry if you don't want to have it spoiled for you. We're going to play the spoiler noise, which you heard earlier in this episode. And do come back even if you don't want to have it spoiled for you, because we're going to rank it up on our Entropy list, which is our big list of everything we've watched on the podcast, ranked. Adam, tell me about Alien.
I would love to. This is Alien, released in the year 1979, rated R, with a runtime of 1 hour and 57 minutes, with an IMDb rating of 8.5 out of 10. Now, we know Inception is the highest. What is Inception at again? Is that also 8.5? That's 8.8.
8.8, yeah.
8.8. So that's close. It's close, though. That's got to be, that's top 10 guaranteed, top 5 maybe. For IMDb ratings. Directed by Ridley Scott, the screenplay brought by Dan O'Bannon, and it's a story by Ronald Shusett. The cast includes Sigourney Weaver, Tom Skerritt, John Hurt, Veronica Cartwright, Harry Dean Stanton, Ian Holm, Yaphet Kotto.
Correct.
Yeah, did I get that?
Yeah, Yaphet Kotto.
Let's go. I think we'll leave it there.
Yeah, that's it. It's not a big cast.
Not a big cast at all. 7 to be exact, as the opening kind of, what would you call those? Title card credits?
Title cards.
Title card? Yeah. The IMDb summary reads as follows. The crew of a commercial spacecraft encounter a deadly life form after investigating an unknown transmission. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I like it.
Pretty good summary. I like that. Solid. Doesn't try to do too much. It's all around just telling you what you need to know, which is what a good summary does, of course. I'm definitely the only one who's watching this for the first time, right?
Oh yeah, for
yes,
sure.
Sir.
For sure.
Yeah. So we'll get it out of the way.
Rip the
here.
Band-Aid off.
Yeah. Really like this. Definitely really good. It didn't quite live up to the end all be all expectation that has kind of been set for me as it's Alien, it's a classic, it's the classic,
sure.
It's one of those movies. Just because it has now a mythos attached to it. So going into this, I was trying to temper my expectations, which I feel like I did it well enough. But ultimately it didn't live up to any crazy level of hype, but those movies kind of rarely do at this point, just because they're just a little dated is usually what it comes down to for me. But I can still appreciate this and still really like this for what it is and what it was at the time, without a doubt. Really enjoyed this. It's a great, I can imagine watching this in 79, because it's such a great piece of sci-fi horror to come out at a point like that, because when was A New Hope? That was 73.
77.
So this is 2 years after A New Hope. This is on the breaking, the cutting edge of both CGI and using these practical sets to create stuff like this. And I'm sure Ridley Scott was very inspired by Star Wars to create something like this. So yeah, really cool to see. Really cool to kind of go back and see what this time period was doing. And I'm very glad I finally gotten around to this, because of course, as we have already mentioned, it's one of those films that's you've seen Alien, you kind of have to see it. So yeah, really did enjoy my time with this. Not the big legendary mythic film that people hold it to be for me, but I can still appreciate it for that being what it was at that time. Definitely recommend as well.
I think you'll have to choose someone to go off after this, Adam.
I'm gonna skip Tyler because he scorned my transition earlier. So Blake.
Fair enough. I'm glad you liked it. I figured you would, though. To be honest with you, I didn't expect you to be like, "Oh, I don't like this film." From my
you're the
perspective,
only one that hates 80s movies that are classics.
yeah.
I mean,
From my
that's-
perspective, this movie's awesome, right? I mean, this is like one of the magnum opus of like horror movies. I'm a huge horror guy. Yeah, I've seen this movie. I don't know, realistically in its entirety, I've probably seen the movie maybe 3 or 4 times, right? In terms of like the amount of clips I've seen and how often I've like sat down and watched pieces of this, that's probably about 15. I've seen all of the movies in the Alien universe. Pretty knowledgeable of kind of the xenomorph lore, the engineer lore, the Wayland Corporation lore. So yeah, I mean, I think Nathaniel asked me a few weeks back when we were doing Prey and Predator, just kind of how did I feel between like the Alien and the Predator universe, and I think Godzilla. I think he asked me to rank all 3 of them. But yeah, this is up there. I love this movie, man. No doubt about it. I recommend 10 out of 10 times. Nathaniel?
Yeah, I mean, as everyone's kind of like said before, there's a reason this movie's a classic. Audiences in 79 must have been losing their absolute minds.
Right, dude.
At this.
Right. Like, imagine you see Star Wars and then like a movie called Alien comes out and you're like, oh, dude, I'm so excited. Like, Star Wars was sick. Like, if this is anything like that, and then like you see this movie, I can even like imagine because it's not anything similar to Star Wars in its themes. Aesthetically, maybe a little bit, but like it's so much different, but like in such a good way.
Yeah, I remember I've read interviews of people talking about how like you had the Star Wars space universe, which is, you know, sci-fi and legendary knights and, you know, samurai basically, and then you had the 2001 universe, which was all clean lines, and like the Apple universe basically, where it's all white lines and you know, round objects and everything. And then you have the Alien future, where it's just outer space truckers, everything's dirty, it's somehow raining on the inside, like it's just the greasiest corporate, like grossest future universe. And you're just like, yeah, this is where we are now. Yeah, I mean, it's art designed within an inch of its life. The H.R. Giger designs within the movie itself are iconic, you know, at this point. It's achieved icon status, which, again, like to Adam's point, really does dull movies in some ways, just because you do have those moments spoiled for you, or there's plot twist movies, or those plot twists, you know, spoiled for you, or, you know, it just... You see clips and you see certain moments, and, you know, it builds up that mythic status. And the movie's never going to live up to those expectations. But as a simple story executed effectively in a world that thinks in ways that you wouldn't want to think, and shows you things that you're just like, oh, yeah, we're a bag of meat on a rock. It's great for that. It's so visceral. It's so in your face. And it's, you know, it melds 2 genres that I think most people in the world don't normally think go together, of that horror haunted house movie in space. Like, it works. It's like Jaws. It just works. It's something out there that wants to eat you, and you're trying to get away, and you can't. And it doesn't need to be anything more than that.
There is more to that if you want to look there.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Yeah, there is. And there's even
that's the best kind of movie. You know? It's when you don't have to look there, but it's there if you want to. You know?
Absolutely. And we'll talk a little bit more later. I love that there's a weird second twist in this movie as well, too. But yeah, Tyler, your thoughts, sir. And I'm a recommend, obviously.
I'm in. So yeah, I have fond childhood memories of this movie, and I think I've said it on pod before that this is like my first experience, and I think this is a lot of people's first experiences, is like a sci-fi horror.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it just knocks it out of the park. This was something that I fell in love with pretty early on, and You guys brought up Star Wars, but it plays a very kind of pinnacle part in this movie, not only in the space factor, but when you like get down to like the nitty gritty of this movie, the detail of it, it's just so vast. You know, how the ships look, how the panels look, how certain things move. And it's so cool because they're like things that you would never have thought of, especially like back then. And then like, especially like when you're a fucking kid and you're like seeing all this stuff, you're like, dude, this is so cool. Like, what's he doing? So, I have very, very fond memories of this movie, and it definitely has a lot of influence on me as far as my love for sci-fi and just horror in general. And when you get to combine those two and make something like this, and the influence that this has on a lot of other movies that came after it, I think it's a banger. It's lit, if you will. And
Man, you're feeling 32 yet?
Yeah, bro, I'm killing it. So yeah, it's really good. I thoroughly enjoy it, and I'm a huge recommend.
Yeah, it's a lot of people's first introduction to body horror, I think, as well too. Sorry, just last thing.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah, quite. Not a ton of body horror, but like the parts that it's in, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, this is when's the thing? Like 81?
Yeah, 80, 81.
Okay, yeah. So it does beat that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm ready to go into spoiler time whenever you are.
Yeah, we all recommends, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Cool. Well then, without further ado, we're gonna go
100.
ahead and head into spoilers. So if you've not seen Alien and do not want it spoiled for you, go ahead, check the episode description where you can see the timestamp I've left where you'll be taken to the ranking of the movie up upon the Entropy list. Spoilers.
Shit goes down.
Okay, I wasn't sure what the timing was on that one because I don't have audio for that stopboard.
As soon as you say spoilers, all I do is just do the ding 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 ding.
Yeah, I did it in my head,
and then I'm like, shit goes down.
Yeah. I have to do that whenever we play the intro song. I have to play it in my head.
All right. Anyways, so the alien fucks one of them, and then it comes out of their chest.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so
that's an
Technically,
interpretation.
your face fucks with them.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, technically,
Yeah,
it's
all
not the
oral.
xenomorph. It's and technically it's a face hugger, right?
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I think Ash said it best, right? He's like, what's his line? Like, you don't know you don't understand what you're dealing with. It's the perfect organism.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, this movie's fucking awesome. I can talk about it forever.
Adam,
Whoever wants to jump in.
Yes.
Big question right off the bat for me. Did you know
Sure.
Ash was a robot?
I did not. I had no clue.
So when that happened, were you just like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah, I was like, why?
Good.
Why is he sweating milk? Like, what's going on? That was what I was like, what the fuck?
I love
weird
that.
shit's about to happen. I know it's about to get freaky.
Okay.
I love that as the second twist. Just like, yep, there's a robot here too. And then like, if you haven't seen any of the aliens, you don't know that going into that movie.
Right. So that's what I was going to
I
ask.
didn't
So
know,
you haven't
I didn't
seen
even know
any
androids were a
alien
thing.
film?
No, I haven't seen. Well, when I actually, so I've always said on pod that I've seen parts of it, and I realized watching
This one or
that's the thing is I realized watching this and I thought it was the original Alien. It must have been a sequel because the one scene that I remember from when I watching it in like the third grade, the one before I had to like stop watching it because it freaked me out. But the one scene I always remembered like wasn't in this movie, so I'm like it must have been a sequel. But it's I mean I don't know if I don't want to spoil a movie I haven't officially seen, but it's like a scene where Ripley, it's another it comes out of the chest, but it's like a soldier stuck in like a wall, kind of like he's somehow like glued to the wall, and then the xenomorph comes out of his chest.
Oh yeah.
Does that make sense? Does that ring a bell? Because that's the other scene.
That may be Aliens.
Okay,
That may be the
I have
third
no.
one.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I got you.
But that's the only scene I can remember, and so I was like waiting for that scene, and then it never came, and I was like, they're in space the whole time, and I remember also after that happening, Ripley like ran off of the ship, so I was like, they were like landed somewhere, so I was like, that can't be this movie. So yeah, I'd never seen this before, and any bits.
That's cool.
And the thing about the android reveal is like, I think part of it that makes it work so much is like, and why it comes out of nowhere is they never really tease at the fact that there are androids in this universe.
Right.
Like obviously you have artificial intelligence with Mother, but they never like reference like, oh, I knew an android back on Earth or something like that. Like, it's just not a thing until it's like, oh, it's right in front of you.
Well, you hear Dallas earlier when Ripley's like, he let us in or he broke quarantine or whatever. He's like, I've shipped out with like 5 science officers or whatever. They've all been fine.
Yeah.
And now they give us Ash. So I think that's kind of the thing, that the science officers are generally androids, and maybe the captains know, but not everyone else on the crew does, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
And they're a relatively new kind of introduction too. Because that's really the ultimate twist, is that
would make sense.
the corporation's behind it, and that the business is evil. What a surprise! But
crew expendable.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And I love that this movie just doesn't. It starts off and Ripley's not the main character. Like, she's just kind of in the background for the most part, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh, she's all I have left. She's the only person here who's around that I have to root for or have any emotional connection to. And it's
because once it's her and Dallas mainly, and Ash, and then once Dallas is gone, it's her movie without a doubt.
And I just think it does the things that we talk about all the time so well. So like for example, it cares what the audience is thinking. It knows where their head's at and how it's dealing with the information it's giving you, and where their headspace is going to be and who they're siding with along the way. It cares about the way that it's shot, so that the alien isn't just right there from the start and everything.
Exactly.
They've plotted this very careful, gestation period with the aliens itself, and they've nailed the part of like, this is something that we have no concept for, and we don't know how it's going to act, but it's going to affect us, and we have to deal with that now, and just being completely out of your element on there. And it solves the haunted house problem. It puts them. Why don't they just leave the house? They can't.
Exactly.
They're in space.
I was gonna say that, like, to its core, it's a haunted house film.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's like a bunch of people creeping around, or I should say, one thing creeping around, right, trying to pick off a bunch of people, and I think it does it so well, and it just opens up. I don't know. I just love watching this movie. It opens up the lore of like everything else, right? So you see like the engineers, right? So then that raises the question of like, okay, well, who are these engineers? The bigger people, they go into the original spaceship that's there, that's actually giving off the distress signal. So stuff like that's touched on in later movies, and it's awesome. I guess like the one thing that I guess a lot of people, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people know at this time, but Adam probably may not know. Sorry about that. It's the police. That might be a ambulance. That the scene where the facehugger gets on Kane, right? They take him in. They're going to the lab. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They end up finding out it has acidic blood. The facehugger has acidic blood.
Right.
But okay, we can't cut it off. Nonetheless, the digest incubation period ends. Right, facehugger comes off. Don't really know where the facehugger went. That kind of confuses me every time.
The ceiling.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it drops down from the ceiling. Yeah.
So, nonetheless, that infamous scene at the dinner table, Adam, where they're kind of all eating, then Kane starts coughing and the chest buster comes out his chest. So, like, that's everyone's genuine reaction. So, like, kind of like the catch of that scene is that, like, none of the crew knew that something was going to burst out of his chest, right? So, like, that's most people's genuine reaction. Yeah, man. So, like, that's the catch of that scene. And so that's awesome when you know that, too.
Yeah,
because that's a lot of people are just kind of like, holy shit, I didn't expect that. And that's awesome because that's so creepy to
like
the body horror. That's like a fucking fear. Can you imagine something bursting out of your chest?
Oh, dude, I've talked about it. I think I've mentioned when we talked about the Mummy that one time, not too long ago. But like I had like nightmares of like the bugs crawling under the skin.
Scarabs,
that shit freaks me out.
Oh my God.
But the only other thing I was going to say about that is like, I just wish I hadn't had like the whole, because I knew what was going to happen. Like the whole bursting out of the chest thing. Like I wish I
already knew that much of the alien lore.
That's like well, not even just, I just knew the scene and I knew the reference and I'd seen the bursting out of the chest in the other film. So I just kind of had it
for sure.
Like that I knew what was going on. So
did you know that was the result of the face hugger?
Yeah,
Or-
I
okay.
basically knew what it was doing. Unfortunately, I wish that wasn't spoiled for me because if it wasn't, that'd be a really cool scene.
Mhm.
But it did felt a little flat for me because I just kind of knew it was coming.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll tell you. I mean, another thing I think this film does well is kind of Daniel touched on is not necessarily showing the xenomorph basically until the end. It's just always kind of hid in the shadows and things of nature. It's shown as to be a really
Well, even at the end, you don't
stealthy creature.
Yeah, you kind of only see its silhouette. Like they don't give you a ton of detail the whole
Exactly. Yeah. Which I think works better too. Right. Where
time.
I think
Yeah,
in
I
later
do wish I
films you
saw
get it in
more of
daylight
it.
and it just I don't know. It doesn't work as well in my opinion. But to your point,
Sure.
Adam, I guess some people may want to see that.
Well, I would say
more prevalent.
that one they're limited by the effects of the time, so they.
Oh, of course.
It didn't look
Very
as
much so,
it didn't
very
look as
much so.
good, so you shoot it in shadow for most of it. You know, you can't have it in
Yeah.
harsh sunlight or anything like that. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say one thing I do give the movie a lot of credit for is kind of that time at that time point too as well in 79. It's just kind of going against the norm where like your three remaining characters are two women and a black guy.
right,
Right? We're just like, I wouldn't have expected that. You would expect it to be like two white men
Yep.
as like your final two characters, right? Then you can even kind of take that to a second notch where I forgot the other female lead with Parker's the black gentleman. What's the is it like
Lambert.
Lynn?
Lambert.
Lambert. Thank
Yeah.
you. I knew it was with an L. Where they're separated from Ripley, right? And you think like, okay, you've seen that xenomorph pick everybody off one by one, so you would assume it would pick off Ripley, but instead it kills the two people who are together.
Right.
It's like that's just like another awesome scene too, where it's like, okay, this thing's like super deadly. There's basically no stopping this thing. You can team up on it. You can do whatever you want to do.
Well, also, let's
yeah.
be fair. For some reason, Parker just decides to jump on the xenomorph instead of just being like, fuck it, Lambert, you won't get out of the way. I'm just going to burn it and try to save myself. He just kind of decides to like try and tackle it. And you're like, what?
I mean, but like, so like, what are his options though? Like, if Lambert doesn't get out the way, I mean,
Lambert's done. I'm sorry if y'all
You're
are
toasting them both?
like
Yeah.
you warned her. You're like, you got to do something. You got to try to
For
move.
sure.
You say you can't. All right, see ya. You're dead anyway. Like, sorry, fellas. If any of you guys are in between me and the xenomorph, if you don't, I'm gonna give you 2, maybe 3 chances. If you ain't out of the way and that thing turns towards me, it doesn't matter.
Fair enough.
And honestly, you know what? If I can't get out of the way, y'all are welcome to fry me too. It's probably less painful than whatever that thing's gonna do, like dismember me. So at least it's quicker. Actually, you know what? Burning does sound painful. Who knows what's quicker? Anyway,
I remember
yeah.
growing
The
up.
burning's probably worse, to be honest with you. I feel like that
it
thing
probably
like
is
punctures
actually.
your
It probably
skull
is.
with the second
Yeah.
mouth, which is another awesome design of like, the mouth within the mouth.
It's got like 3,
that
and then
extends.
his teeth are like his teeth are like titanium.
Metallic,
and you're-
Yeah,
yeah. You're just like, oh my god.
yeah, it's
Maybe this is the perfect organism.
100%. Dude.
And then it's
So-
got acid blood, which is just
and
cheating.
its blood is acid. Like
Uh,
holy shit.
acidic blood.
I can remember as a kid, I didn't actually see the alien bit until I was probably 13 or 14, but I saw the bit in Spaceballs that parodied Aliens, where the guy does in essence
Oh.
the same thing and like orders something at a restaurant, and then the chest burster comes out and then does a little dance and walks it back
Yeah.
into the kitchen. And something about the comedy of it scared me so much more, with the just like
Yeah.
this thing could come out of my chest and everyone else would just laugh and like go
Okay,
along with
yeah.
it.
I don't think
Terrified
I've seen
me
that.
so much.
I've
Oh
seen that
man.
as well, actually.
But yeah, then like even after that, I mean, just Aliens, just it's so perfect with the transgression of the body and the like, you know, the Giger designs are incredible. There's a really good documentary about him in general called Dark Star, I want to say, because he like basically pioneered that kind of biomechanical design, and he had a lot of interest in like what the humans thought or what consciousness was pre-birth and all of that kind of thing. And he even talked about like designing the eggs for the face huggers, and originally there was only one kind of opening on the top, and the studio came in and was like, oh, it's a vagina, you can't have that on there. And he's like, it's too profane. And so he's like, okay, so I put another vagina on the top of it and I made an X, and now it is twice as profane, and they were fine with that. So I was so, like, just, it was great. And yeah, I mean, it's just such a good movie, such a well-constructed movie in all elements of it as well as we go through station identification here. You're not going to hear the boys for a second, but that's okay. I'll just keep talking. And yeah, I mean, I really love it. I think Ridley Scott, he does a great job with keeping everyone together, making sure that everything's photographed really, really well. I love Harry Dean Stanton in this as well, too, as the kind of secondary engineer guy who's just kind of bumbling along. And I love, too, they're just truckers. They're just people there to do a job, and they're in a horrible situation.
He's like, that's not my job to go rescue somebody.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's all I have to say on that. And someone else can talk now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, I can talk about this entire lore forever. I mean, I do think, even to Ash's point, right, where he kind of breaks down, like, where you guys can understand what you're dealing with, the perfect organism. What did it say? It's like its hostility is only rivaled by, I don't know, what did it say? Something of that nature.
Perfection is only rivaled by its hostility or something like that. Or ability to survive, I think. I don't know what it is exactly.
It's the speech from Jaws. All this thing does is eat, sleep, and make baby sharks. Like, it's the same.
And to the point of the organism, and like kind of what makes it scary, how we're talking about like the second mouth, its teeth being like titanium, having acidic blood, and you start to realize this thing's killing. Like, it's killing just because, like, it's not eating people.
Right.
It's not doing any of that. Like, it's honestly like that's what that thing is meant for. So then it starts to raise the question, like, I don't know, is this thing just meant to like clear out civilizations? That kind of raised the questions. Like, then you start to think of the engineers. Like, did the engineers create this? And that's all stuff that's like kind of touched on, like, in like kind of the lore and other literature. But yeah, it's fucking awesome, man.
Now, are the engineers, like, is that the big skeleton that was manning the gun in the ship?
Which you will learn more about in Prometheus and Alien Covenant.
Correct. Okay. And that's actually the distress call they were getting was from that ship.
Right.
Yeah, it's from. Yeah, I gathered that much. Right. It was from that. Okay.
It'll all somewhat make sense.
Yeah. Honestly, dude, if you like this, I mean,
the Prometheus shit. I see what you're saying. Sorry, I thought you meant the. Okay. So the distress signal they were getting was the warn. Okay.
Right. Turns out to be a warning signal from the Prometheus ship.
Gotcha.
But yeah, if you like this, I mean, Adam, I think it might be worth kind of looking into the remaining films. I mean,
I was gonna say, yeah,
all of them good, or the ones that I can skip?
No, the only ones
Aliens
that are
is awesome. The second one is by James Carpenter. James Cameron. Excuse me, James Cameron.
James Cameron.
Yeah, the second one is just as good as the first one, damn near, right? However you want to put it. The third one, I think, is Aliens 3. Yes, yeah, and she's in it. Is it 3 and then Resurrection, Nathaniel?
Correct. Yeah, which 3 and Resurrections are no longer canon. Yeah, they're dog shit. You don't have to pay attention to those. So you can just do Aliens, Prometheus, and Alien Covenant and be totally fine. I agree. Aliens 3, which was David Fincher's first like Hollywood movie, he's disowned because he basically had no control over it. And then Alien 4 is just an insane movie.
Yeah, that movie's fucking weird.
Just
don't watch that. It'll ruin you.
Should I be watching Alien versus Predator? Because that sounds awesome.
You might as well, yeah. I mean, at this point, now that you're aware what a xenomorph is, right, and how deadly they are, you're aware of what predators are, right, and kind of their hierarchy and how they hunt for sport, and then you piece together, like, okay, they're hunting basically the perfect organism, right? So, like, that's their sport. Right. So it's just an awesome movie when you look at it in that regard. The people who want to be the best hunters in the galaxy.
It's two apex predators,
right?
basically.
Exactly. So it's fucking awesome, man.
So is it fun? Is it like a good movie though? Like, is it entertaining?
The first one's entertaining.
Entertaining in like a Godzilla sense.
Yeah. The first one's good. And it kind of opens like the path to like other predators. You see like predator hierarchy. You see alien or xenomorph hierarchy. The second Alien vs Predator, like that's pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think you can pass on that.
Yeah, you would need to have all your frat brothers together and have lots of beers for you to enjoy AVP too.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Ty, you got anything you want to say on here? Or thoughts, favorite scenes, whatever you want to save?
I think one of the things that I kind of really learned on this rewatch is I just really didn't like see as much as Prometheus in this as I've saw this last rewatch, and there's just so much of it in here, and it really just makes that movie that much better.
Yeah.
And it makes this a lot better too. And yeah, I think a lot of my like love for this movie comes down to just the passion that went into it. Just every single little detail that they could possibly get out of this thing. They tried. And like I said, all the little switches and stuff, like that stuff just makes me so happy. And then you get like the little quirky things that like you can just see that like they could just not figure out, like the fogging of the helmets.
Right.
And then like when they're seeing the ship for the first time, and they're kind of like walking, or like they're making it look like they're walking towards the ship. It's just getting so much bigger and on like a faster time frame than what it should be doing. So you can tell that it's like a miniature, and they're obviously trying to make it seem like they're walking, but they're moving too fast. And so there's like quirky little things that you can see that are obviously pretty funny. But I think it just makes it that much better. And all the the like oxygen spraying like out of the helmets when they're walking, and all the little sounds and everything. It puts me in a spot where like filmmaking was just kind of having like this breakout moment, and it's like comfort food for me, and it really makes me happy. But overall, the acting is just phenomenal. I think one of my favorite parts will always be when he just gets his head knocked off. And then
Ash.
yeah.
And
then she's like, well, we gotta put him back together. So you got his head on the fucking
table,
on the table, and it's just it's one of those scenes where like when you first see that, especially as a kid, you're just like, holy fuck.
One of the all-time just roughest cuts I've ever seen too,
100%.
where she's trying to manipulate the dummy head, and then it's just a hard cut to the next shot of him with his like actual head and the makeup in there too, and like her arms like not even in the same spot or whatever. But yeah, it is one
same
of those
thing.
things.
Like after he burns it, like you can see it goes from like the actor's face to like just like the dummy's face.
For sure.
But like even all like the internals of Ash's body, like the little bubble things that are coming out, you're like, what the fuck are those? And you're just like, it's so cool because like you don't know what it is, and it doesn't matter because it's a robot android, and they're in there because they make them work. And then at the end, where she finally gets on the shuttle, now that you know that it's there, you always look
and try to spot it
where the xenomorph is, and you can see just the shiny part of its head, and you're like, oh, there it is.
Yeah. So I caught myself doing that too, where I was looking and like I haven't seen this movie in its entirety in a while, so I'm watching it, like as she's kind of sitting there like computing things, I'm looking, I'm like, man, that looks awfully a lot like a xenomorph head. Like that's what I'm saying to myself. And then I'm like, oh my God, I remember that is a xenomorph. You know what I mean? So that was actually really funny. I caught myself.
I was like, I know this movie's not over. Like, it obviously got off the ship somehow. Is it like outside the ship? Does it survive in space? Is it inside hiding somewhere? And so I was kind of like, what, looking for it. And so when she went over to that wall, I was like, I see its head. It's right there.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I saw it like jumped out.
After the most over-the-top explosion ever committed to film, where it blows up 3 times.
They're like, the Death Star? Nah, we can do that 3 times better.
Also, MVP Jonesy the cat. My man's probably rocking like 15 concussions in there too while she's sprinting down the thing,
throwing that box around.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, I'm so glad you brought that up because I'm just like, you know what, man? This movie's got xenomorphs and an orange tabby cat. I'm in. Like, I'm sold, dude. So shout out Jonesy.
Great.
I think if I had an orange cat, I'd have to name it Jonesy or Jones now.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
that had to just increase the rate of Jonesy named orange cats.
With
right? It had to.
1,000%. Like, yeah, definitely did.
Go ahead, Nathaniel.
I just love at the end too that you can actually see Jonesy in one of the little cryopods next to her or whatever. Like he goes to sleep.
Yeah,
too.
it was funny. She puts him in it, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I was like, "The cat goes in the cryo sleep as well."
Yeah.
So,
He's gonna feed it.
yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. But yeah, that's about all I got, fellas. I mean, any other thoughts or favorite scenes? Let's do that. Favorite
We can
scenes.
do
Can
that
go
quick.
around on that.
Um,
You're the new watcher.
yeah, Adam, go ahead.
It's hard to say. I don't know. Probably the like maybe the dinner scene. Actually, you know what?
Yeah.
No. The dinner scene maybe, but it's more like the whole sequence with the face hugger where it's like it cuts and it's like, oh, what just happened to him? And then like they get him back to the ship and it's like, oh, he's got a alien stuck to his face. And like just every time they like cut to that, I'm just like, like that's
Yeah,
so
it's so
fucking
nerve wracking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
And
it's-
so like that whole sequence probably like just basically the face hugger I think is like my favorite part of the movie. I
yeah,
think the face hugger is fascinating.
Nathaniel.
Yeah, I think it's just a movie that combines a bunch of scares that you didn't know you had. Like
For sure.
the thing of having something over your face and you can't see what's going on, or over your friend's face and you can't tell what's going on. If you try and get it off, it's going to kill him, and you just have to sit and wait it out. Who's ever thought of that before? And then like
Right.
2
Ari
hours
Aster,
later,
maybe.
there's something bursting out of his chest. But yeah. So anyways, scenes I really like. I really like the vent scenes. With Dallas in the
Yeah,
vents.
Dallas.
Yeah.
That was what I was gonna say. That was like my second answer.
Yeah, and then I've always really loved the scene where I always remember the actor's name. Harry Dean Stanton is looking for Jonesy, and he goes into that room, and it's like I think it's their oxygen chamber or whatever, and it's just raining from the ceiling inside the spaceship, and you're just like, what the hell is going on here? Like, what future is this? Why is it wet? Like, where is this cat? Is Harry Dean Stanton gonna die? He's walking around saying, "Here, kitty, kitty." Like, I feel for him right now. Like, all of that just packed into that scene, I think, is just great.
Yeah. I also love how like they see he finds the molten skin. The molten skin, and then you're kind of like, oh shit, it's evolving. Like it's gonna be probably bigger the next time he sees it. But no, it's fully grown. It's like not like they're gonna slowly evolve it, and you're gonna find that it has slowly gotten bigger over the movie. Like no, it molted once, and then maybe it molted like a second time that
and
we
now
didn't
it's a
see
problem
in the span of hours, and now it's a full grown xenomorph, and you're fucked at that point. Like your only chance to kill that thing was when it came out of his stomach. After that, once you saw it slither away, you also saw your life slither away because there's no chance you're killing it.
Good point.
Yeah.
Tyler, any favorite standout scenes for you?
I really like a lot of the scares and everything like that. But I just have to constantly go back to like any time where they're just kind of trying to do like their daily operational stuff, and like hearing the doors open, and even when like the air vents and the circular like closing. Yeah. Well, it's not even like it's more because like you can hear the metals grinding. It's like right. And so and just like all the little like spaceship sounds, the beep boop beep beep beeps in the background and stuff like that. Like it's just it puts me in such a good.
There's always an alarm going off somewhere.
100%.
Or something's hissing. Some steam is shooting out somewhere. Yeah, and there's a strobe light going, and things could be fine, or you could be imminently blowing up. You just don't know.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. And it's just I think it's just those things that really really do it for me as far as putting the movie together as a whole. I think one of my funnier moments that I always laugh about, even though it's supposed to be more of a jump scare, is when Dallas is in the ducks and he finally sees the xenomorph, like its hands are out
Yeah.
And like in
surprise.
every other Aliens movie, they never show its hands like that. They're not like So
It gives jazz hands.
I always think that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah. Yeah, that scare is definitely a product of its time, right? Like you can tell that's such like a 79 scare. As far as me, I don't know. I mean, the final, like, I don't know, it's probably 20, 15 minutes of this movie is awesome. To your point where they kind of have all this alarms going off. The air pressure things are going off, right? And she's kind of just like walking around with the gun. She finds you, Jonesy. You're like, where the fuck's the xenomorph? Is it going to be behind her? Is it in the ducts? You know what I mean? It's like we don't know where this thing is. So like that's just some really good tension. I think that's up there. As well as the first scene where you see kind of like its second, really clearly you see like its second inner mouth, right? I think that's a really good scene too, because like they kind of like you see it a little bit. You see like the original like titanium teeth. You can kind of see something like enclosed in its mouth. I think when it gets might be in the first kill when it gets the older gentleman, I can't think of his name, the one Nathaniel was just talking about, when he's looking for Jones, he's saying, here, kitty, kitty. But then you don't really see like the second mouth till it gets Parker and Lambert.
Right.
And that's when you can really see like, oh my God, this thing has a second mouth that goes out like a foot from its head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'd have to go with that one.
Well, let's put it on the board.
Let's do it. Welcome back, listeners who skipped over the spoiler segment of the podcast. We're going to go ahead and rank Alien up upon the Entropy list. For those of you who do not know, the Entropy list is Back Row Banter's official list. I know, I'm like, oh my God. Like, if you know, for those of you who do not know, the Entropy list is Back Row Banter's official list of every movie we have reviewed, regardless of genre, regardless of anything else, all on one fantastic list. This is essentially how we rate our movies rather than do it out of 10, out of 5 stars, whatever it is. We throw up all the movies we review on a list and see how they compare to one another. If you'd like to reference Entropy list for yourself, you can do so by checking the episode description where it is linked to my Letterboxd. Alien 79. There it is.
Who's letting it rip first?
I'll
Fellas?
go. I'm going. Could be a surprise. Could not. I'm going at number 9.
Okay.
Holy fuck, that's high. Okay.
Really? I was like, I mean, that's about on par with
No,
expecting.
I just like I wasn't sure if we were there, and then he just let it rip at top 10. I'm like, okay, we're there.
Yeah. So that would be below Jurassic Park, above Get Out, for me. So cracking the top 10.
Yeah.
Originally just looking at the list, like Halloween obviously stands out for me up there. That's where my mind immediately goes. I don't know if I could, with having Halloween at number 6, I don't know if I could put this above Jurassic Park at number 8. And then like next horror movie, obviously Get Out at number 9. And as good as Get Out is, like,
For sure.
Stand on shoulders of giants, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it's just one of those big ones. So, and then, yeah, I mean, looking down the list, like, if anyone said, you know, to me, is Alien better than X movie? Or, you know, is it better than Green Knight? Is it better than Starship Troopers? Is it better than Requiem for a Dream? My answer is going to be yes. I may like other movies more than that, or I might have more fondness for it than that. But as like a movie,
As a movie.
yeah. I mean, Alien's just it's of a certain quality that, to my mind, puts it into that upper echelon, regardless. You know.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah, number 9 for me with Alien.
Okay. Blake?
Yeah, fellas. I mean, I'm a huge horror guy, right? I mean, this is a film that, I mean, I've seen this countless times. I've seen pretty much all of the Alien films with my dad. I love Xenomorph lore. I love Wayland Corporation lore. They're kind of the company behind kind of the ship and finding planet. What is it? LV-41, I think is what it ends up being. Long story short, fellas, I'm going number 1. So
Oh my
Wow.
Wow, let's go.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah, it was tough.
No
for me
wonder
to
you were
put it
rubbing your
over-
hands together for so long.
It's tough for me to put it over Hereditary. I think Hereditary is probably to Nathaniel's point. There's movies I like more, right? So I think Hereditary
Yeah.
is probably like one of my favorite horror movies. But just in terms of like movies that you look at, like has it stood the test of time, right? Yes, right. Did it reinvent the genre? Yes. Has it been a foundation for other films to come? Yes. Has it built one of the biggest cinematic horror universes? Yes, right. It just checks off every single
Right.
box you need. And then it also gives us one of the coolest like creature designs we've probably ever seen. So yeah, I'm going number one.
Yeah, I still think you could take like the most jaded, cynical 16-year-old, and if they know nothing about Alien, you put Alien in front of them, it's gonna scare the shit out of them. Like,
Yeah.
fair.
The creature design alone just makes the movie cool, and then they could have did whatever they wanted to do.
right.
They add in the face huggers, they add in kind of all the claustrophobic haunted house aspects, but just as far as a creature that has acidic blood, you can't really hear it. It has a second mouth. I'm
Got
in.
two vaginas.
Yeah, like I'm in, fellas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
I'm-
the face hugger thing is just so scary. Like that
It's
whole,
awesome.
it's the whole
Yeah,
it's
thing.
almost
Yeah,
worse than the xenomorph.
Yeah, it is. It is in my opinion. I would rather
Yeah.
be killed by the xenomorph. Like,
It's
For sure.
more of the for me. It's more of the way it tightens its tail around.
oh
it.
god,
Yeah,
it's just
that's
the whole
nasty.
thing.
Yeah.
Somebody tries
man.
to touch it.
The whole thing about it, and you can't
The
get it
whole thing
off.
about the
Like
facehugger.
the thing, and yeah, like obviously it's got its penis going down your throat too, and you're implanting whatever the fuck's going on down there. Like,
Yeah, it's
Fuck,
probably just
man.
a straight embryo at that point.
yeah, that's so scary. Like, ugh.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. But yeah, fellas, top,
Number one.
tippy top, tie.
Ty.
This one's tough for me because I have things obviously on the list that I like better than this.
For sure.
But this is I have very I have close ties with this. This was one of those things that, like I said, it was kind of like the first of its kind for me, and
It's
it influenced. It was one of the first of its kind of its genre.
no,
I think
yeah.
it made the genre.
I just love that
And
for three of us, we're like, God, man, I just have such fond memories of Alien, and just
Yeah.
everyone else would just be like, you absolute psychopaths! Like, what
Yeah.
are you doing?
and I think this it did so much for film and for horror and sci-fi even, and because like my first thought was Starship Troopers, because that's
Sure.
full-blown
Yeah.
sci-fi, and I have probably watched Starship Troopers more than I have watched this.
Sure, fair enough.
And Lord of the Rings is sticking me hard
Right.
at 17.
It's hugging your face.
Yep.
Damn.
But then I do look at things like Arrival, and I'm like, this is better than Arrival. For
Arrival-
sure.
If we reviewed Arrival today, it would not be on the entry list in the place that it is. I think.
No, that's true.
I agree. Yeah, because I think at the time we reviewed it, I think it was one.
It was. Yeah.
Yes.
It was
Yeah.
number one for a little bit.
Yeah, that's actually one that I would strongly suggest we reevaluate, just because I think it got skewed there.
That's the beauty of the list, though, man.
'Cause
Facts.
it is, yeah, it is part of it for sure.
I'm stuck, boys.
Just say it, man.
Well, do you want my ranking to help you out, or do you just want to?
Sure.
Just
Go
not
ahead.
admit.
I gotta mull it over a little bit longer. So instead
Yeah,
of mulling it
'cause-
over in silence, why don't you go ahead?
What are we thinking, Adam? Don't break my heart, man. Just to let you know, you didn't break my heart with Hereditary. You may have actually completed it when you gave me your ranking of Hereditary.
I'm glad I could help with that one. I don't know if I can be as much of service on this one. But I don't think it's gonna be as bad as you think.
enough.
Obviously we have so many killer movies on this list, and similar to Ty, I kind of started at Starship Troopers, and I was like, fuck, like I love Starship Troopers and I like it way more than I like this movie. But again, it's more towards Nathaniel's thing where like, and it's the reason that The Shining is number one. It's just like you have to also look at the objectivity of it and like what a movie is, how it was made it as a movie, but also like what it did for movies, all that stuff that we've kind of already touched on. You guys already touched on. So like I had to move it up a bit and I went movie by movie and I was like, Back to the Future killed me. 9 Days killed me. But I finally landed it and had to cut it off at Midsommar. So I'm landing it at 14 below Midsommar and above The Lighthouse.
I thought you would have been lower as well too, but I think it's a good spot.
I respect it enough. I get
you.
You know, I think we've all kind of said this. Like there are movies we enjoy watching more than this. But like this as a movie, like I have to respect it for what it is.
It's generally not. I have an evening free. I'll watch Alien. It's
no.
But neither is
Midsommar.
The Shining. Neither is Hereditary. Neither is Midsommar. You know.
I appreciate the Midsommar love. I definitely appreciate that. Where
I think I said during that review that I liked it maybe more than Hereditary.
Yeah, you were high on that.
That's
and I've given it some time, and maybe I watch those back to back sometime soon, and maybe do a double feature on like a Sunday that I don't have anything going on. But like, I might stand by that.
Yeah.
Although that'd be a hell of a Sunday.
I'm with you. I probably should try to watch those back to back, but I'm like, that's just like an emotional
That's
wreck.
a lot.
Like, I already got to be down bad in life to watch those movies back to back, and like, I'm praying I'm not there in the next few years. So hopefully,
yeah, dude, you gotta be devoid of all feeling to watch those things back to back.
We're rapidly approaching 2.5 hours here, so let's
well, just on the raw recording, we're approaching 2 hours on the overall recording.
What's Ty? What are you thinking, bro?
Yeah, so I think it should go a little higher, but because Lord of the Rings is just where it is, I will put it above Starship Troopers and kind of Dune and Batman, but I cannot put it above Lord of the Rings, so it's gonna go 18 for me.
Yeah. Is that a heart thing for you?
Yeah. It's just Lord. I mean, if we got another 2.5 hours, I'll talk about Lord of the
Rings. For sure.
So you have it below Lord of the Rings.
2.5 hours, you'd watch it too.
You have it below Fellowship, above Green Knight.
Correct.
Okay.
What is it?
Below Fellowship, above Green Knight. So 18.
So 18.
Yep. So an 18, a 14, a 9, and a 1.
That brings us to 10.5, meaning we have to tie break it with Inception. We already did that before we started this review. And with Tyler's ranking, Alien does not make the top 10.
Oh man.
The episode Blake quit.
That's life, fellas, right? just when you think you got it.
Hey, just look at where Lord of the Rings is at.
Yeah. And I can take the blood of that too, because I was the person who had Lord of the Rings at like 31 or some shit like that. So yeah.
I at least like Alien more than you like Lord of the Rings.
Fair enough. Yeah. So yeah, what goes around comes around. It came back and bit me in the ass.
How prophetic!
Just like the xenomorph, you know.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Hey, we were on point early though with the Inception call out early on in this. We seeded that well.
Yeah,
we did. We set up the little pre-match showdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that breaks my heart.
We will live for next week.
Absolutely.
And our next review, which is Halloween Ends.
Dude, I fucking forgot that's the movie we have to do.
Yeah.
Fuck.
That'll be interesting. I'm not going in.
That will be interesting.
Do we have to? No.
I mean, we could do American Psycho. Do we want to? I mean,
no, because this is new. And plus,
we've done the other two on pod.
Yeah, I guess we do have.
It's been 3 years in the making.
Yeah, might as well finish the trilogy.
So. Yeah, but let's see. That's coming to theaters and Peacock, I believe. So you have it there for you. Nathaniel, 5-star review.
I will give us a 5-star review, folks. If you want to give us a 5-star review in app on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I've never checked Spotify though, but in Apple Podcasts, that really helps us out a lot. It does raise our overall visibility, and all that good stuff. But if you give us a 5-star review, we will read it out on the podcast. It could say anything you want. You could be mean, you could be funny, you could be nice. Just don't be evil, and you will hear it out. Just like Green Carlisle, who gives us a 5-star review. He says, best podcast in the world. Thanks. Oh, Garen. I apologize. Garen Carlisle, not Green. Although maybe think about Green as a nickname. Who knows?
Green. Be cool.
It says, if you like movies, this is the podcast for you. Also, I have 2 questions for the boys. Question time, folks.
Oh, God.
Number 1, what is each of the guys' favorite movies and why? Can be any genre. And number 2, would you guys ever consider reviewing shows such as the new Dahmer show that recently came out on Netflix? Yeah, I mean, I think we may do a show at some point. I feel like it would have to be something pretty big, and we do kind of cover that sometimes in what we're watching, as we did in this episode, obviously. But maybe if it was like a like 2 or 3 episode like special series or something like that, we might do that.
Well, we talked about doing a spit a sizzle on season 2 of Euphoria, and we never did.
That's true.
So like,
that's true.
we could do those for
That's
sure.
true.
So yeah, I guess we would review it. It just wouldn't go on the Entropy list. I guess.
Yeah,
that's
it wouldn't be
because
like
it's not a movie.
like
And
that.
we wouldn't. So that's kind of your final answer.
Yeah, maybe like very long down the road we'd start doing TV show reviews, but right as of the near future, we'll not. We'll stick to movies for main reviews.
Yeah.
As far as like
in
everyone's
terms
favorite
of-
movies,
Yeah, go ahead.
let's try to do these quick. Yeah, mine's
That's
Whiplash, which we've reviewed. Still is Whiplash. I don't need to say more about that. Just watch the movie.
Just listen to this and the end of the episode here, and you kind of already figured out that mine is Lord of the Rings, and there's a lot of reasons why. And like I said, if we had another 2.5 hours, I'd tell you.
Yeah. Nathaniel?
Good thing we did that review.
My favorite movie is A Knight's Tale. I always say there's a difference between your favorite movie and your best movie, but yeah, and there's also definitely DNA movies that I've talked about before, which are definitely different, but A Knight's Tale is the movie that I can watch at any time and makes me happy. So
Yeah. Tough, but just kind of quick answer. Obviously a horror guy, I'll probably go Scream, just in terms of as Nathaniel said, is it the best movie, right? But just in terms of favorite movie, in terms of the amount of times I've watched that film, I can pretty much turn that film on any time of day, any day of the week, any month of the year, and watch the entire thing, probably quote 95% of it, and laugh the entire way through. So I'll go Scream.
cool. So there you go, Garen. If you want to hear your review or anything put in the 5-star review segment, you can do so. So just give us a 5-star review. And yeah, Adam, want to get us on out of here or finish
I
off the
would
rest of the
love
show?
You can also send us an email, which I'm not going to check right now because we are running long on time now and have done the 5-star review. But yeah, you can send us an email with any questions, comments, concerns, experiences, anything of that sort, similar to the 5-star review. But maybe you've already submitted a 5-star review and you still want to talk. We still have another platform for you to do so. Send us an email. Share the podcast, share with a friend, a family member, a fellow crew member, or a friendly friend or not so friendly friend that you picked up on your journey back to Earth. And the face hugger. Share with the face hugger too.
Yeah, they got
Y'all are chilling together, hanging out.
some listening to do.
Yeah,
You think
exactly.
face huggers have ears?
They do now.
Probably not. Yeah, they do now. Just to listen to our podcast, they're gonna evolve ears. But realistically, I mean, you're the lore. Maybe you should know, but
Yeah,
I feel
guess.
like
I don't know. You
what
gotta have
would
something
their-
you can hear out of, right?
but
Obviously,
what would
they
be
have,
the use of their ears? You know, think about it from an evolutionary side of things.
like,
Like,
I guess, yeah.
you know, what would
don't
be
know.
the use of them having ears?
Sure, good point. Yeah.
Who knows?
I guess you would assume xenomorphs have ears, though. So,
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I think you can assume that much.
how do you think they wear hats? Random tangent. You think they do the hat that covers the whole
This
head,
is
or
like-
you think they do the hat like on the
think-
back?
I think I don't know if they wear like baseball caps. I think they're more of a beanie type.
Oh, okay,
species,
just a
you know?
super
I can see them
stretch
rocking
beanie.
Yeah, I can see them rocking a
Okay.
beanie.
Like one of those
Yeah.
hats that you do to like fit your dreads in. Like one of those
Yeah,
like
yeah,
huge.
yeah,
beanies.
yeah.
They just have the
Yeah, now we're
entire head out the
talking.
back.
Yeah.
That's funny. So,
Blake, where can the people find you at, my man? I didn't do all the rest of the back row. Twitter is at Banter Row, Instagram's Back Row Banter Pod, and YouTube is just Back Row Banter. BlakeHolder.
Letterboxd, BlakeHolder. I'll be on there blogging some things, rating things out of 5 stars, adding hearts if I like them, as well as giving reviews. Had a few thoughts on Alien. Not even a few thoughts, honestly. Just had one thought. It's one sentence, and it involves xenomorphs and it involves a cat. So, great movie. That's all I've got. Popcorn. Let's go to Tyler.
You can find me on twitch.tv/Ultra Bajo and Letterboxd, Twitter, and what's the other one? Instagram. All Tyler Vidalis, VIDLES.
That is the other one.
Nathaniel.
You can find me on Letterboxd and Twitter at @NSGingrich. You can find me on Instagram at NathanielG92. Check out my other podcast, Sandpiper Tapes. Peace.
You can find me on Twitter at Aish24, on Letterboxd at Aish, and on Twitch or at twitch.tv/Aish, where I've been playing more Halo and just went live last night. Had some fun playing and running with new teams, and we'll see where that goes. Waiting for season 2 of Halo to be announced. So anyway, that's it for episode 121. Very special number for me in my life, but I can't reveal why. Anyway, join us next week for our review of Halloween Ends. Thank you all for listening, especially if you made it this far in the episode. You're my favorite type of listener, and we really do appreciate it. We'll see you next week, and we'll be RB.
Be excellent to each other, everyone, and we will be RB.
Thanks for stopping by and, having a little casual listen as we have our casual podcast. And, do anything you can help us do to grow. We appreciate it. And just spread love, and we will be RB.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for the support as always. If it weren't for you, we would not be able to continue to record this podcast. So we appreciate it all. Everybody stay in good spirits. As I always say, if you're doing at least one thing you love every day, then I would say you're living the correct way. We'll be RP.
America. Ready for another lesson.
Hey man, so I meant to ask you. I was watched a little bit of playoff baseball recently. I haven't watched the whole game. Just kind of having some shit run on the background. And I saw the entire shindig about the Padres pitcher. They thought the guy was fucking cheating.
The ear thing.
Yeah. What's up with that, Nathaniel? Can you break that down? Can you explain that to me in football terms, as the internet would say?
So it's pretty simple, really. Imagine if it'd be like wide receivers using sticky tack on their hands to pull in balls if that wasn't allowed or something like that. But you have to think. So with a pitcher, based on it's a mixture of old school world thinking and new school world thinking. So we've always known that if you add something to the ball or if you do something to the ball, it will make it move in different ways, right? Okay. That's just common knowledge. That's why spitballs were a thing since time immemorial. People have been doing things to the baseball that will make it change to do other things.
Right.
Basically, it affects the spin rate, and then that's going to affect how much it can curve or how fast it goes.
Correct.
The faster it spins.
So,
okay, I got you.
The science behind it is basically by altering the ball, you will affect its spin rate, which will change the ball to do different things or react the way a ball normally shouldn't, basically. So, this has been going on for years, basically, but in the last probably 4 or 5 years or so, there has been a big crackdown on pitchers using this because it was kind of an open secret that you could do these kind of things to get more feel for the ball or something like that. But a few years ago, there was this the way they figured this out was there was this general spike in a bunch of pitchers' spin rates throughout the league. And it all changed at once, and people were having these crazy spin rates on their balls and everything like that. So the league was basically like, oh, okay, something's happening. What's going on? And they figured out that a lot of guys were using what's called spider tack, which is just a sticky substance, almost like pine tar, but 10 times as sticky. basically.
It was like made in the lab for baseball use essentially, and so it was just like
and it was like
insane spin rates and
it was like
whatnot.
$15 for a tub of it on Amazon, and like guys would have it like like on their arm, on their neck, on their body somewhere.
The brim of their hat,
So
you'll
if
see
you're,
brim of the hat,
if you were to fix your hat, scratch your neck, or some shit like
exactly.
that,
You
Yeah.
could get it on your hands
Yeah.
because most people like there are rules like you can't touch your mouth when you're on the mound. Like if
you have to if you touch your
can't-
mouth, you have to wipe it on.
yeah,
your
you
hands
can't lick
kind
your
of thing.
fingers. You can't do anything like that because those were rules that have been in place to stop spitballs for years and years and years. And
right,
years and that
right,
kind
right,
of
like
thing.
the 50s type shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And like you would see like back in the day, guys would have like pine tar or something on their uniform. There'd be a big black splotch on the back of it and stuff like that. And like this is like things in like the 80s and shit. So, long story short, the league introduced a bunch of new rules where if they thought that a pitcher was doing something to doctor the ball, they could call the umpires in and have them do a check on it for them. And it was like a huge thing for a while, and it's more or less kind of like taken care of itself now. Like you don't see it as often, but in that particular occasion, they suspected that the pitcher was using something, and what they called out was that his ear was kind of shiny, basically, and they said, "Hey, that doesn't look right."
Yeah.
And so
And his spin rates were up on the game.
Right.
Like they had that the Mets had that knowledge in the dugout. The coach after the game said I looked like it was getting fed data and his pitches were above his average spin rate. His ear looked a little weird. So, he was
that
like,
was the driving
we're
cause.
just gonna
right,
The
Yeah.
actual data behind somebody's spin rate. Okay.
Yeah, and so it's just like it could also have been it's a wild card playoff game. He's got a lot of adrenaline. He's trying to pitch well, and so that's why his spin rate's up. Is he's just pitching.
Well, and
at
they,
a,
I
100%
also I read
max.
something too that like across baseball, across the playoffs, spin rates have been up just in general too. So like, there's some
Yeah.
people that think like the balls are different in general as well too.
Could be that.
This
too,
is
for
like
sure.
again, these are all things that were like, just kind of like part of I guess like. When I was growing up, it was just kind of like part of baseball. Like it was just things that came with it, you know, like that. Like
Yeah.
the ball wouldn't necessarily be the same, or like
Sure.
you know, all these kind of things now. And now there's like all this science behind it, and there's all this data behind it now, and it's like they're like finding new answers to old problems. But in my heart, that kind of like takes away some of the romance of it in some ways. Like I get, but at the same time, I guess I get it too. Like if a guy's throwing 105, like I don't want the ball spinning
That's
in a
the
weird
thing.
way.
Yeah,
Like, it
it's
used
just
to
like with all
be-
this new technology, new data and analytics, that pitchers are just being able to throw so much faster with so much more spin than they used to. That like they had to do
Yeah.
something to slow it down because people just couldn't hit the ball, and they want to make baseball more entertaining. So they're like, everyone striking out doesn't benefit baseball,
Right.
so we're gonna make it a little easier on the hitters.
Well,
And
like
so now there's talks of moving the mound back a foot from 60 to 61 feet, just give people a little bit extra time to react. You know, that fraction of a second.
I don't know. That's a little crazy in my opinion, but
Yeah. it's a lot.
like growing up when mine is like the idea of the guy that would like do something to the ball to like change it or something like that. That was like reserved for like your older players, like your crafty veterans or something like that. Like that was like a vet move kind of thing. You wouldn't expect your young ace to be the one guy to like be doing different stuff to like mess with the ball or something like that.
Or like what was it, last season or the season before? It was just like, I think it was last season. They were just like, this is getting ridiculous. So they changed it in the middle of the season, which can really fuck up pitchers because their arms are gonna get shredded when they go from having some grip on the ball, so they don't have to grip it as hard, and then it just became a big issue because mid-season, mid-form of what they're supposed to be pitching it at, they had to switch up how they were pitching basically, and so a lot of pitchers were like upset about it because that you have to grip the ball differently if you want to get the faster spin rate or whatnot, because they had to pitch different versus when they had spider tack or whatever they were using to just raw dogging it
Which,
essentially. Like
I will tell
Yeah.
you, there are other ways that you can get a different grip on a ball as well too. Like,
Right.
you know, if you can throw it around the infield and like someone in the infield can have something in their glove that scuffs it up. Guys used to put sandpaper on the inside of the gloves and like you do it around the horn and they'd scuff it when they caught it. Or like I've heard stories of like catchers with like razor blades, or like their mitt has like one of the buttons on there has like one of the sides flipped up so they can scuff the ball and stuff like that. Like you take rosin and sweat or what is it? Rosin and sunscreen. Rosin and sunscreen, you mix it together and it's like sticky tack and whatever. Like you can do a bunch of different stuff to the balls.
Yeah,
like,
I think the best solution for it that I heard suggested was like, look, like they need to use something on the ball, and like they're gonna try their best to get it out there. But like, if you just regulate what it is and say, hey, this is MLB approved. It's not spider tack. It's not as sticky, but it is this. Use all of this that you want, but this is the only thing you can use. I feel like that'd be fine, and most people would adhere to that because I don't think anyone would really risk getting something stronger if they like have something available. I think at this point it's just like they want something.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever held
stickiest thing is.
if you ever held a Major League Baseball, it's completely different to a like
it is
high school league baseball or even a college league baseball or something like that.
What is it? Is it like more smooth or?
It's smoother.
It's sorta, yeah.
Yeah, it's smoother, and the laces are very, very small, so they don't stick up very much. So you
they're
don't
not like the big red, like the big thick ass red.
correct.
Right.
Yeah, so you
That's
don't
like
have
a
as
Pee-wee baseball.
yeah, you don't have as much
Kinda.
grip on the laces themselves and that kind of thing. And then the balls are also treated before every game with a substance that was called ball mud, and it comes out of like one weird creek in like Mississippi or something like that. And like one family owns the right to this mud or whatever. It's a really weird story if you ever look it up. But like they rub the balls in that ahead of time too. But I think that might have been like discontinued like 2 or 3 years ago, and that was also why guys were complaining that it was like a slick ball too. But yeah, it's a lot different than like your normal high school or off the street baseball that you'll find.
Yeah,
Definitely.
So I don't know, maybe they could raise the laces a little bit. Like that could be a potential solution as well too. The other thing
is that like the laces are what influence the movement of the ball.
Right.
So like at the major league level, they don't need help like a middle schooler does to throw a curveball. They can get the grip, they can spin it well enough where it moves really well.
Right.
With those lower laces. The higher up you move those laces, the thicker you make them, like the more air it's gonna influence, the more effect it's gonna have on the air. And so if you raise those laces, you're just going to see pitches that are just untouchable. They're going to look like wiffle balls.
Well, the other thing is, too, I think you could always just, players can strengthen their hands in different ways, too, in the skin on your palms and stuff.
Sure.
I just usually put sandpaper on my hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like rub my hands with sandpaper.
What was it? Moises Alou used to piss on his hands?
I don't remember. That'd be funny, though.
Yeah, he was one of the famous non-batting gloves batters. I think he grew up in the Dominican Republic or whatever. He said that the old like ranch hands to callus up their hands and strengthen their hands after using like ropes all day and stuff would pee on them. So that's what he would do.
Yeah.
Anyways, this has been baseball talk with Back Row Banter. Sorry, Blake. How's the? What did you think of some of the playoff baseball? Did you enjoy some of it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch any games in their entirety. I just kind of like had it on. I went into the store Tuesday to work a smaller shift to close, and that game was, who was playing? It might have been the Padres, or maybe it was the Mariners. It might have been the Mariners were playing the Blue Jays. Am I right on that?
That would be the right league at least. So probably
okay. Yeah. So
Mariners and Blue Jays. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just interesting kind of watching that. Then I followed up on a few things the past few days, just like having like ESPN and shit on in the background,
For sure.
Man, I don't know. It was just interesting. And then I saw the Padres thing, and that was like all over like this morning. I was watching like Get Up in the morning, and like that's all they were like talking about is kind of like that whole thing. And I don't know. Some people felt like the Mets guy only did it because it was obviously like a game clinching game, I guess, or game 7 or game 3. I don't know what it is in baseball.
Yeah, well, that one was a 3.
So he was like really on edge. I'm like, yeah, like we gotta win this shit.
Gotta do anything. Yeah, that's Buck Showalter too. He's old school baseball as well. So
is that the Mets? That's the Mets
manager. Yeah.
Okay, so they're not called coaches.
No, their head coaches would be called a manager.
Ah, okay. Okay. So nonetheless, though, it's his decision to be like, hey, you know what? I think this guy's cheating.
Yeah,
He's the person making that call. Okay.
Yeah. Pretty
And
much
that can
all
only come from the manager. It's like a challenge flag.
Yeah, it's pretty much all game time decisions are your head.
You have
your
challenges
manager.
in baseball. You don't have to use one to challenge it.
Oh,
Challenge
okay.
someone. Yeah, the challenges in baseball are usually just for out calls, like first or second. Well, mainly first base is
And
for the
home
most
runs,
part.
I think.
First base and home plate. I would just for safe calls, honestly. But like,
No, isn't it like fair foul on a home run too, or something like that?
yeah, but that's rarely used. I think you can challenge that, but I think
No.
that's rare.
And I think you
Like
could
it's
challenge.
not that often that it's hard to tell.
No, and I think you could challenge fair foul maybe in the regular season or something too. Those are also like
Yeah,
the
I don't
challenge
know.
calls are also a newer addition to baseball. It's like within the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see if I continue watching. I don't know.
You'll be
Playoff
able to catch
baseball's
some. Yeah,
the best, man.
you'll be able to catch definitely some good games, some good pitching as
For
well
sure.
too, obviously. And then like I don't know if you saw the Houston Astros guy that hit the walk-off home run yesterday as well too.
That was so cool.
No, I
mean,
didn't.
I'm
I
really
didn't
want the
see it. I
Mariners
saw
to
the
win,
stuff on
but-
ESPN, but
Gotcha, yeah.
who are they playing again?
The Mariners,
yeah.
who haven't been to the playoffs in over 20 years,
Since
and
2001.
they're actually, 2001, and then they've never won the World Series.
And then so to walk me through this again. So I watched the Mariners play the Blue Jays. That was on Tuesday. That
Yeah.
was that's like a play-in game,
Yep,
right?
That was the wild
Kinda,
card.
yeah.
That
and
was-
that's a best of one. That's winner takes all.
They used to be best of one.
Yeah, they're best of
they're
three
best of
now.
threes now. So the MLB just went through a lockout this season. So this is the first time this is happening.
Okay.
But they expanded the playoffs. So usually it was only 2 teams make it to the wild card. So you have your winner of each division. So you have 6 teams
Right.
automatically make it to the playoffs. Then you have
And the
2 extra
next two
teams from
best.
the American and the National
Right.
League. They also make it to the wild card. The wild card used to be a one game winner takes all. Now it's a best of 3 with 8 teams in each league instead of 2. Or no, not 8. Sorry, 4 teams, right?
Yeah. And before that, it was just the team
Yeah.
with the best record.
Yeah.
That
So
was
now
like-
it's
when I was growing
Yeah.
up, it was the team
Okay.
with the best record that didn't
yeah.
Okay.
win their division basically.
Yeah.
So then
So
the Mariners beat the Blue Jays in the play-in
Yep.
series, right?
The
to
wild
go and
card.
play the Astros.
mhm.
Yep.
And then that Padres Mets, is that a play-in series or is that a wild
that was a
card
play-in
series?
series. That
Oh.
wild card and play-in are the same thing.
Okay,
basically.
I guess,
You're
yeah.
referencing them as play-in
Did
because
they,
that's how
would
the
it be
NFL
divisional?
does.
Would it be divisional round?
'Cause right now it's the
Yes.
division series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
'Cause
the best of
division
5s.
winners. Okay.
Correct. So it's the division winners and the winners of the wild card games, and it's the best of 5s. So right now in the National League, it's Dodgers, Padres, and
Oh, that's cool. They're
Braves.
playing each other.
yeah, the Dodgers and
That's
Padres
actually
are playing
really
each
cool.
other, and then
Yeah.
the Braves and the Phillies are playing each other.
Uh.
And then on the American League side of things, it's Astros, Mariners, and then it is Yankees, Guardians.
Guardians, yeah, Cleveland.
Guardians is Cleveland. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And the Yankees have the guy who's been fucking cranking shit out of his mind.
Aaron
Right?
Judge.
Like, I see
yeah.
that shit on ESPN the whole fucking
Yeah.
season. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, me and
who-
Nathaniel were talking about him. It was maybe like last week at the store or so.
Mhm.
Where I didn't realize how big he was. I caught him somewhere like
Dude,
in
he's
the
a
off-season,
huge.
like,
Yeah.
he was
he's
next to like an
huge.
NFL player, and I forgot who it was. Then I was like, okay, I know who that guy is. I knew who the NFL player was. Then like James Harden was involved. There's 2 other people. Then I was like, who is this guy? And that guy was Aaron Judge, and I didn't know who it is in the
Yep.
photo. But I was like, I'm
Mhm.
like, this guy's fucking huge. He's like, James Harden's probably like fucking 6'9". He's in the NBA. You know what I mean? And he was like relatively close to
He's-
James Harden's height, but you could tell he
he's-
was like pretty muscular.
He's
Then I clicked the
6'7".
tag, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, that's Aaron Judge. And like that's when
Yep.
it hit me. I was like, I know who that is.
Yep.
That guy's a fucking freak.
Yeah, he's 6'7", 280.
Yeah, dude. That's
Yeah,
nuts.
dude. He's huge.
Monstrously big.
But- Yeah. That obviously comes with its pros and cons in baseball because he's huge, has a huge swing, and obviously that pays off because he hits 62 and he can hit 62 home runs in a season, 63, whatever it was. But also, like you'll see, and I think the stats support this, he gets the most non-strike calls called against him, just because his strike zone's so big
Just 'cause
that
he's so fucking
umpires.
tall.
He's so
Yeah.
fucking tall. Umpires will call anything on him, low
Right.
or high or whatever. Like, and you see he's compared to his like the box that they overlay on the broadcast to like, which is like what a strike zone is supposed to be. It's bigger than most people, but because he's just so tall, like umpires are just calling everything against him. Like he has the most like non-strike calls against him
Okay.
of any player.
So then, this will be my last baseball question.
You
So
can
a
keep
strike
them coming.
zone's not relative to size. It's just an actual size on.
No,
like,
it is
above
relative to
home plate.
size. No, it is
So it
relative
does
to
change
size.
based off the
It's
size of
supposed
the
to
batter.
correct. Yeah, it's supposed to change depending on the size of the batter. Usually from I don't know how they officially do it,
Like
but it's like
waist up or thigh up or
knees to like mid stomach, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, is kind of how it's always been.
From the top of your knees to the middle
displayed.
of your chest.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so because he's 6'7",
Yeah, that's just a
it's
large
obviously
area.
a very big area.
Yeah.
And so he just gets a lot of calls.
We once were facing my friend in like Little League or something, and he was like one of the kids in the league that could throw like 65 miles an hour, and he was like 45-foot mound, so that looked like 1,000. And for the entire like first 3 innings, we all just like squatted into our batting stances to make our strike zones as small as possible. You just like
Right.
Anyways, let's talk about movies.